Entertainment's NFL Draft live coverage of round one. My name is Mark Phillips. I am here with Dustin Whitehead, writer for the site, and Austin Stoll, who is one of our podcasters on the Michigan Sports and Entertainment Podcast Network. And we are going to cover all the picks of the first round of the NFL Draft. How are you doing today, Austin?
Doing well. Excited to kick this night off. It should be pretty interesting to see how everything goes.
Absolutely. Dustin, who do you want the Lions to take in round one of the draft?
Who I want them to take that I think will be on the board is Jonah Williams, but the player in my dream scenario would be Josh Allen out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I think that I think a lot of people think this, but I think that Josh Allen fits exactly the kind of defense that Matt Patricia wants to run. And he can line up in a 4-3, he can line up in a 3-4, and I think he can be successful either way. I like his coverage skills a lot too. For an edge rusher, he has what I would call above average coverage ability.
Yeah, for sure. He's a beast, honestly. Like most big boards, you see him at 3, but with teams looking for need and other high-level players that are similarly ranked, there's a possibility. Like I didn't think so before this week, but I've seen some highly ranked sources drop some knowledge of them being at 8. So they're falling for him to fall to 8. So that'd be awesome.
I think it will depend on how many quarterbacks get drafted before the Lions draft. That's the big X factor.
I think it actually
depends. The Giants.
Yeah, that's what it is. I was just going to say, it depends if the Giants take a quarterback, because if they don't and he falls out of the top 5, that will be their pick for sure in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Austin, what do you think about trade down scenarios? Do you think that there's anything that will tempt Bob Quinn to trade out of the number 8 pick?
Honestly, I think if you're the Detroit Lions, you want to trade down. Obviously, if a premier guy like Josh Allen, and I have also seen him fall, especially with the latest thing with the Jets being in love with Ed Oliver, because I know the Jets in a lot of different mocks, Josh Allen was going to the Jets. So if that scenario does happen, I think it would be great. But I think ideally for the Lions, sitting at 8, you want a quarterback needy team like the Bengals, like the Dolphins, the Redskins to give you a call, get a little more draft capital. You've got some holes on the roster. And what you can do is you might lose out on TJ Hawkinson, which is a shame. But on the flip side, this class, especially on the defensive line, which the Lions do need, is big. So trade down scenario going to 15, and Montez Sweat I know is still on the Detroit big board. He's come off some boards. I think Montez Sweat fits really well in Detroit. Heavy hands, really good run defender, and Patricia's got a new toy with elite athleticism to basically mold and shape into his premier pass rusher on top of that. And he doesn't have to worry about teaching him the run defense aspect of the game, because Patricia does love that two-way guy, loves having both aspects to him. That's why Trey Flowers is there now. But adding a guy like Montez Sweat on a trade down scenario where you're getting more capital, I think ideally you would want to see that from Detroit tonight.
Yeah, and the latest that I've heard from Sweat is that the heart diagnosis was a misdiagnosis, and that subsequent tests have shown no problem. That's obviously rumor. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that is the latest report I heard about him. And I agree, he's another prototypical Patricia sort of defensive lineman. And they're, with Snacks in the middle and Flowers and Sweat, I think it will be very difficult for teams to run on the Detroit Lions.
And can't forget about Deshaun Hand, who had a fantastic year. I think it was a 4th-round pick from Alabama, not expected to do what he did. So with Snacks, Deshaun Hand, Trey Flowers and you add someone like Montez Sweat, that front four becomes very scary against a lot of those, premier offensive lines that you see in the NFC North, in the Bears and the Packers.
Yeah, Dustin Austin brings up Hand, and Kenny Galladay was a third round pick. I know this is all about the first round today, but especially with trade down scenarios being possible, do you think that it's even more beneficial for Bob Quinn to get additional picks in the second, third, fourth round, since he has shown at least some acumen in being able to find some steals in those rounds?
Oh, absolutely. In 3 drafts, he's only had one real bust in the first 3 rounds, and that's T. Staber. And cornerbacks take a while to develop, and I don't really have much hope for him, but you never know. But yeah, those picks have always been hits for him while he's been the GM of the Lions. Like you said, Galladay, he turned out giving up a future third-round pick in this draft for Hand for a fourth-round pick was worth it. I love him. Our center in the third round. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Kerryon Johnson. I mean, it's a sweet spot, honestly. Like, I think he's going to do a great job in those rounds, and that's why when I wrote the mock draft for the website, I wanted them to get some extra second, third round picks.
Yeah. So I'll go to you first, Dustin. Who, going away from the Lions, we're coming up now to about the start of the draft, fairly soon. You know how they like to milk the beginning, but who do you think is going to be the number 1 pick?
Based off reports and everything I've seen for the past 3 months on mock drafts, I think it's going to be Kyler Murray. Cliff Kingsbury has a type, and it apparently isn't Josh Rosen. So, I mean, he said that if he had the number 1 overall pick and he was a coach, he would take him, and then all of a sudden he gets the Arizona Cardinals job. So, just, crazy, I think he's going to have his guy, and it's either going to work really, really well or it's going to be really ugly.
Austin, do you think Kyler Murray's going to be the guy? That's the consensus.
I'm torn on it. I think at this point, if the Cardinals were going to trade Josh Rosen, something would have been leaked by now. And if you're not getting at least a first-round pick back for him, I just think that's a bad move. Josh Rosen can succeed in the Cliff Kingsbury offense. I do know the difference between, Kyler Murray and a Josh Rosen, but I don't think I saw something earlier today. I know John Gruden and Mike Mayock in Oakland were very interested in Kyler Murray. Do we see a situation where they come up and grab Kyler and Arizona trades down to 4? And so he still goes 1, but he doesn't go where we think. But I think it's too tough at this point to say he won't go number 1. So I think I'll just join in with everyone else. But personally, I think the Cardinals should be drafting Quinnen Williams out of Alabama because, pairing him with Chandler Jones and just the immense talent that he is, he's arguably the best player in the draft. But, I'm not calling the shots in the desert either. So my opinion is very minuscule.
Yeah. Arizona, one of those teams that has certainly, fits the rebuild mode. I know that they want a quarterback. New regimes mean new quarterbacks, a lot of times. And, I'm kind of with you. I question it. I do think he will be the pick, but I really question. I don't know that he's the guy to bring back winning football in Arizona. But stranger things have happened. I do think that there's at least 1 or 2 quarterbacks that I think will be very solid starters in the NFL outside of the top couple that go, the highly touted ones that go this year. So, that will be interesting in round 2, round 3, round 4, where they go.
Yeah, Mark, I think if they don't go Kyler Murray, it won't be Nick Bosa. It'll be Quinnen Williams because they have Chandler Jones, and I think Quinnen Williams fills a really big need for him at defensive tackle if they don't go quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I think that defense obviously needs help. There's a lot of marquee defensive players in this draft, and it's a lot of times if you need a quarterback, you want to go quarterback. First you want to get your guy. I understand that, but I think that the defensive talent, especially on the defensive line and linebacker in this draft, almost trumps it because of the caliber of talent that we see coming out this year as opposed to a lot of other years. It's really a bumper crop of guys that I think can really have exceptional NFL careers.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, so it looks like Arizona is officially
We're on the clock. 9 minutes and 15 seconds for the Arizona Cardinals.
And we're now joined by John Emmons, also of Voice of the Fan podcast. John, how are you doing?
I don't think you guys can hear me.
Oh, hey, John, if you can hear me, your mic volume was super low. Like I heard you, but it was really, really minuscule. So I don't know if you can eat the mic or get closer to it, but I did just hear you.
How about now?
Nope, it's still really low.
All right, give me 1 second.
Okay.
I can also hear you, but it is very low.
Yeah, I could hear him in the headphones.
I cannot hear you.
Oh,
How about now?
it's better. Keep going. Keep turning it up.
Ooh, man, I'm just gonna have to put the whole microphone in my mouth.
Anyone have any
little
trades predictions happening? You got any ideas?
Well, this is supposed to be a year where we get a lot of trades, especially in the first round. I know a lot of teams want to move. There are obviously a number of teams that want to move back, and there's a few, as Austin mentioned earlier, Miami and a few teams like that want to move up to get their one of their quarterbacks. I think Miami will make a deal, definitely. I think that the Falcons might make a deal as well if they can put together a package to get one of those premium defenders in the top 10. And I think that the other one that has a likelihood of happening is the Texans, actually. So we will see what happens with those three teams.
Yeah, for me, the Dolphins, I don't think they're going to do anything. I think they're content with having Ryan Fitzmagic as their quarterback for a year and going into next year's draft potentially with a top 5 pick or the worst record and getting their guy.
You think that they're looking at what's his name? Tua? Is that his name?
Tua, Justin
Tagovailoa.
from
Yeah, there you go.
Gabbert, Herbert, Justin Herbert, or the Georgia kid from. Yeah.
Man, so Cardinals must be really deliberating or just milking this clock. The pick's still not in.
Yeah, odd for a lot of times we see with the teams had the entire offseason to go through the board. They only take a couple minutes there, but I see on the feed Kyler Murray sweating a little bit as he's waiting there. I'm sure he's expecting he'll be the name called.
Mm-hmm. Mark, interesting fact about the Dolphins is they're the only team in the NFL to give their head coach 5 guaranteed years. Every other coach was an offensive coach that had 4 years with a 5th-year team option. So I could definitely see him just tearing everything down and being one of the worst 3 teams next year, like I was saying, and then getting their guy next year for sure.
Yeah, they definitely have given him a lot of rope. So
yeah.
Man,
they really are milking this clock.
I can't help but wonder if they're trying to field some last-minute calls for the number 1 pick. I know that there wasn't a ton of interest to move up, but I know that there were some teams that were thinking about it. So again, I think Oakland was one that, maybe they've got 3 first-round picks. Obviously, they would want to hold on to one of the other late 20s, but I'm not really sure who else would want to move up outside of them. That's the only thing I can possibly think of. I have no idea what would take so long. You would think, like you said, Mark, they should know who they've been staring at this for 3 months. They've known that they're the top pick in the draft for 3 months now. So I don't know. I guess they're still deliberating.
If Oakland did make a deal to move up to number 1, do they take Kyler Murray, do you think? Or do they go Bosa? Do they go somewhere else?
I think if Oakland made the move up to 1, they would take Kyler Murray. I think sitting at 4, you're going to get a premier defender that you need to make an impact on the field. But there's no reason to give up draft capital when you have potential to get 3 guys that can contribute from day one. But with all the buzz around Cliff Kingsbury, the Arizona Cardinals, and the number 1 pick with Kyler Murray, that would be the only reason that you would want to call and trade up. Reminiscent of when the Bears traded up for Mitch Trubisky and they jumped San Francisco by 1 pick, but San Francisco kind of robbed them a little bit. Reminiscent of that, because there was just a little bit of rumblings that they might, that the 49ers might take a quarterback, and the Bears needed their guy. So they made that big jump up and got their guy. So I think the only reason that you trade up this high and this early in the draft is to get a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that. Interesting because John Gruden seems to love the veteran quarterbacks, more than he loves trying to break in a rookie. But obviously, they haven't been shy in Oakland about making trades. They haven't been shy about trying to revamp this roster and, in getting the draft picks that they got, giving up different guys here and there throughout the season too. The trade with Dallas and all that stuff. So, maybe they're trying to build the foundations of something for the next few years. I really don't know. I really can't see who outside of Oakland would want to make a trade up to number 1.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't think anyone would want to. Oakland's got the firepower to do it, and still come away with a lot of picks to still make an impact in the draft. So,
Austin, can you hear me?
Yes. Hey.
Woo!
Finally, it's a little muffled, but it's loud.
It's loud. Okay.
That's all that matters, that we can hear you.
Yeah.
Get a little loud for you guys.
Good.
John, what do you think could be taking so long? Is Arizona just enjoying the moment, or are they fielding calls?
I think they could be trolling a little bit. I think the only team they would really be fielding calls with, like you guys said, is Oakland. I don't really see any other team willing to give up the capital to move up to number 1 to take a guy like Kyler Murray. So if anything, I think it's Oakland if there is a call going on. Because if I remember right, last year the Cleveland pick was pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like they're shaking hands in the war room. So they're on the phone with somebody. So it looks like the pick is about to be in, and we're going to see what the 3 months of suspense has finally led up to here as the clock approaches a minute here.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
What about if they're actually talking about Quinnen Williams right now and they're having some debate and they just haven't made up their mind?
That's definitely possible.
'Cause I think he's the fit.
Yeah, as we said, I think that would be a good fit for them going forward, and might be even the better move in the long run for their for their franchise. But yeah, you would think
I
with
think
the
so.
3 months to debate it, they would have had this down.
Well, they have this front office that's just not very good. Their GM's been there for almost 5 years, and look where they're at now. So I mean, he's on the hot seat after this year for sure. So maybe
Which is
take
another reason why you might not go rookie quarterback right away.
exactly. You're drafting two in the first round for the next GM.
All right. Well, the pick is in, so we're hopefully gonna see who it is. They're not showing any cameras of Kyler or anybody else, so
Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone has any inside info.
no.
Bleacher Report has the pick. You want me to say it?
Yeah, as soon as it comes up.
Okay, yeah. Kyler Murray is the first overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft.
All
All right. So
There it is.
Kyler Murray. They just wanted their little time in the limelight, I guess. Or who knows? We might find out, tomorrow or months after that there was a last minute debate in the war room, or maybe they were really just trying to get the best possible package they could from the Raiders, and they just couldn't get any of the things that they wanted out of it.
What happens to Josh Rosen now? That's something we'll have to come back to.
I thought that they would want to have him at least a deal somewhat made before they went and took Kyler, but I guess we're about to find out right now. I'm not going to say anything because I don't know if there's a delay from my TV and your guys' TV.
No, the pick is in. Well, there it is officially on ESPN too.
Yep.
With Kyler Murray being the guy. So, John, I agree with you though. I thought that the Arizona Cardinals would have wanted to make a deal with Josh Rosen going somewhere before this pick because they just tanked his draft stock. Teams know that now they have two top 10 quarterbacks. They're getting rid of, obviously Rosen. And if I was the Cardinals, I was wanting a first-round pick for him. But do you get that now? Because teams know that you're trying to get rid of him.
Here's a theory. Could they have been on the phone with someone trying to at least get preliminary agreement to trade Rosen to somebody, let's say, later in the first round?
That I definitely think that's something that could have been going on. Because I think you want to look at Washington. The Giants could certainly with pick 17 be one. I don't think the Bengals or the Dolphins would give up their picks for Josh Rosen. But I mean, even you might even want to look out. Maybe the Patriots get in there. They've got, I think, 12 picks in this draft, and they're not going to be able to use all of them because they're going to overfill their roster. So do the Patriots do something and bring in the heir to the eventual end of Tom Brady and, have that future, because Tom Brady won't play forever and Josh Rosen is still really young.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine getting, mentored under Tom Brady with Bill Belichick while they're, still, doing really well. And by the time you take over the reins, you're maybe 24. That would be a classic Patriot move in my mind. And I think it would make a lot of people mad.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things. Maybe they were on the phone with the Patriots or someone else, and they wanted to at least secure the underpinnings of a deal before they made their pick, so that they were sure that they could move Josh Rosen. Since obviously they went with Kyler Murray. And I agree, the Patriots make a lot of sense in that scenario, Austin.
It must be pretty exciting to be a Oklahoma Sooner fan. 2 quarterbacks 2 years in a row drafted number 1 overall.
Yeah, that's a good point. You go 1 year from Baker to Kyler, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But now Jalen Hurts isn't going to go number 1, but not a bad guy to replace Kyler.
No, I agree with you. Because kind of interesting that the pick hasn't come in for San Francisco. I feel like with Kyler Murray going 1 overall, Bosa should have been the shoe-in, immediate sprint to the podium and give the card out. But we're approaching the under 5-minute mark here, and the pick is not in yet, as far as I know.
Yeah, it's not in according to my TV either. Is my TV too loud? Can you guys hear it?
No.
Okay.
John, how do you think Bosa fits into the San Francisco defense and what they want to do? Because I agree with Austin that Bosa, I'm 99% positive Bosa has to pick here.
I think he's like you guys said. I mean, I think it should have been a shoe, and I think he's a perfect fit for what San Fran wants to do. I'm not 100% sure on how San Fran's interior line looks, but they definitely need the pass rush that Bosa could bring. And honestly, I don't know who else you would rather have over Bosa. I thought they would have already had the pick in as soon as Kyler went to Arizona, but I guess they're taking their sweet time. I hope that's not the theme for the night.
Right? Yeah, it's going to be a long night for us.
I just thought it was an obvious pick. I think they're going to end up with Bosa, but I don't know what else they would do here. I don't think they need the other guys that could go here who are more interior guys.
Right. Dustin.
Hope the pick is in finally.
Oh, okay. Here we go. I was going to ask real quick before we get the pick. What do you think that Bosa is the best rusher that's going to come out of this class?
Ooh. Yeah, he's probably the best pass rusher. I mean, it all depends. Like, he's been injured 2 out of the past 4 years, so it could end up being Josh Allen, but it's likely him. But if we are considering interior pressure, it could be Quinnen Williams. Like, that's how much I believe in him.
Yeah, I think Williams would be a good pick. I mean, really for any team, but I just think if you're looking at fit wise, it's Bosa all day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree there too. All right, who is it? Oh, there's Bosa. He's done. Don't see any smiles or phone calls or anything like that. Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so far, I think we can. I think at this point we're pretty confident that it's Bosa, and obviously that would go as scripted from most of the mocks that I've seen so far. Kyler Murray 1 and Bosa 2 to San Francisco. Where do you think the first wrinkle might come in as far as what's
I love that question.
Like what pick do you think that's to happen in?
Oh, hold on 1 second. Goodell's there. Yeah, Nick Bosa. That's
Look at us. Look at us. 2 for 2. We know what we're talking about, guys. Fit. We know what we're talking about here.
Oh yeah, it definitely a good pick. Bosa has tremendous speed. He's got a big body, obviously. And he still has, I think, some room on that frame to put a little more muscle. He is uniquely built for an edge rusher. He's got a nice, compact, like fire plug type frame, and I think he gets low better than most of the edge rushers I've seen come out of college, and I think I think he'll be a tremendous player day one for them. But yeah, Austin, where do you think the first deviation we might see is going to come in?
It depends. It could come in right here at pick 3. I think for the longest time, Josh Allen was the mock pick to the Jets.
Yep.
But recently, recently as yesterday and today, Ed Oliver, who I think a lot of teams just don't really know what to do with him because of his size. I've seen a lot of people saying that the Jets really like him. So I think that could be. I think originally kind of the top 5 was somewhat set in stone, with Oakland maybe being that that wild card because you're not really sure what they're going to do. But certainly the top 3: Murray, Bosa, Allen felt like a done deal. But I think we'll see it right here. I think pick 3, it could be Josh Allen, who, the Jets could certainly use a edge rusher of his ability. Ed Oliver, obviously, pairing him with Leonard Williams would be and Henry Anderson would be a really interesting combination. And we can't forget that the best player in my mind, Quinnen Williams, is still out there. So I think regardless of the Jets, if they don't take Quinnen Williams, I think Oakland takes him. And if they don't, there's no hope for him.
Dustin, who do you think? Now we've got number 3, the Jets on the clock. This is obviously a place where we could go a number of different ways. Who do you think is the pick here?
I'm leaning Quinnen Williams because I think they should go best player available. But there's a lot of rumors from Ed Oliver to Josh Allen a couple of weeks ago to trading down, obviously. I think that's what they're going to be trying to do right now. So I would lean Quinnen Williams, but I'm not their GM, so.
Right. Well, that's a good point, John. If we do get a trade here, who do you think is the most likely candidate to move up to number 3?
Oh boy, I'm trying to think here. I don't think Oakland wants to move up a spot. I don't really think there would be really any people trying to trade up to 3 right now. I mean, guess if anybody, you're trying to get a guy like Williams or something. Austin, do you see anybody trading up to 3?
No,
I just don't see a lot of movement in the top 10 until you get to Detroit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. In recent history, everyone scrambles for a quarterback, and I mean, last year was probably the best example.
Yep.
With all these teams trading up to draft quarterbacks, but I think I agree with you. Looking at who's remaining, and just because this class is so deep where it is, and the quarterbacks are just so up in the air. There's not outside of Kyler Murray, there's not really like a guy that someone wants to go and get. And there's not a lot of teams that are quarterback needy right now up here high in the draft. So I agree. I think New York is trying to trade out, but I really don't know who
would Washington even try to trade a 3 for Haskins?
I don't know if they like him that much.
But if I had to, because I know I read somewhere that they want a quarterback, but I mean, I don't know if you trade everything you need to trade to get to number 3 for Haskins if you're the Redskins.
See, you have to have absolute certainty that Dwayne Haskins is going to be your franchise guy. And that if you don't move up to 3 and take him, then someone's going to go get him.
Exactly.
And I just don't think that's the feeling right now. I think these teams that are, in the mid-teens that are kind of looking at a quarterback feel okay where they're at, because there's not someone that's, really hungry for it. Now, I will say this, if someone does jump up into, say, the top 5 or the top 10 and takes a quarterback, I think we'll see a domino effect, and we'll have some teams scrambling to get up there because they'll get that nervous feeling
that always happens.
We're not going to get our guy. Yeah, exactly.
I personally think this pick's probably going to be Ed Oliver.
I agree with that. I kind of think it was going to be our first whoa moment, to where we've been hearing some rumors about it, and then all of a sudden, you would think it'd be Quinnen Williams, but Ed Oliver just all of a sudden kind of jumps up at you.
Yeah, that's my feeling on where we're going right now. I think if the Lions were incredibly in love with Josh Allen, which, obviously who wouldn't be,
right?
I could see them possibly making a move to trade up to number 3 in order to secure him. But with the number of holes on their roster, I don't think it'd be a wise move to do it. Yeah. And I don't think it's a move that they will do. I don't think that's very likely.
Yeah, I don't think Quinn risks moving. I think if anything with the Lions, I think you see him trade down. Because I think if at 8, I think you feel confident enough to get a guy on the defensive side of the ball. to where trading up to 3, even though you're getting Josh Allen, I think, like you said, they have too many holes to fill that they could use with the other picks than just trading up to 3 to get Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Wow, they're really letting this clock go down.
Man, all 3 teams so far.
This is maybe another one where they're on the phone with a few people trying to make a move, but I really don't think it's going to happen, and I think they're going to go with Oliver. And I think that Oliver will play well in the Jets defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. It looks like the pick is in, so
yep, pick is in.
We'll know soon enough who they've decided. And Mark, to your point, I think the scenario I see the Lions trading up would be if Josh Allen falls out of the top 5 and he's sitting there and the Giants are at 6. I think I could see him being within reach, and you're not giving up a ton of capital, and you move up for a guy like Josh Allen. If you think he's like that game-changing guy that, you know, is going to make your front 7 or make your front 4 to that next level.
I don't know what you're saying, but the pick through Bleacher Report is in, and Quinnen Williams is a part of the New York Jets.
Wow.
Quinnen Williams. Okay.
Smart pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great pick for them. Best player in the draft.
Arguably, him and Bosa neck and neck for me. I think you don't trade that pick to your division rival Buffalo Bills and let that dude kill your quarterback for the next decade. So I think it's a pretty good fit. And you got him and Leonard. Is it Leonard Williams now? So you got the Williams right there. You know, they're going to be destroying people up the middle. It's going to be really nice.
I think, and that's, you know, that goes back to, you know, a lot of Jets teams like to build like that interior line, both offensive and defensive line, but especially defensive line. And, you know, that's an anchor, you know, that I think you can build on for the future. I definitely think it's a good pick. Surprises me a little bit, but yeah, I definitely think it's probably the best pick that they could make where they're at right now.
Yeah, I think it's just a smart, safe pick. I don't think you can go wrong really with picking Williams, to where I think there might be a little more risk with Oliver than Williams.
Let's see, official.
Yep, there it is.
Yep.
So now we've got Oakland on the clock. Obviously, Austin, you mentioned that they have 3 picks in the first round. Number of ways they could go here as well.
A lot of guys available.
You think they go defensive line, the defensive side of the ball, or the front 7, or are they a team that wants a quarterback? I've seen Haskins mocked to them. I've seen a lot of different people mocked to the Raiders with their first pick in the first round. Where do you think they go, Austin?
So at this point, at 4, Quinnen Williams is off the board. Kyler Murray, the quarterback that you liked, is off the board. I think you have to take Josh Allen here as the Oakland Raiders. Your pass rush was the absolute worst in the NFL after trading arguably the best pass rusher in the NFL to the Bears. So you need to bring someone in that can get after the quarterback, and Josh Allen can put his hand in the dirt and rush for you. They do have a bit of a steal last year when they got Mo Hurst in the 3rd round from the medical condition.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you have to take Josh Allen here. He's a little underdeveloped in a sense of he's not 100% put together like a Nick Bosa with his pass rush moves, or even like a Brian Burns, but he can play the run, and he's just got so much upside that you're going to be able to work with him, and he's going to work hard enough to develop into that guy that, not going to say he's going to be the next Khalil Mack, but he'll definitely be a guy off the edge that you'll have to fear, in the NFL in the future.
Yeah, Josh Allen is the player in this draft that I think is going to be the most impressive defensive player to come out when careers are all said and done. But as you said, I think he definitely needs to develop a little. He's not quite as polished product as some of these other defenders, but I think his ceiling is the highest of anyone in this draft class. Dustin, do you agree? Do you think they go Josh Allen here? Is there any other pick?
They could go Devin White. I mean, he could be the new leader of their defense, but I think they do go Josh Allen out of Kentucky. I think he's the guy. Kind of makes me sad as a Lions fan, but what are you gonna do? I mean, I love him. I think he won our MSE Madness championship. I mean,
He did.
dominated every round by 70%. He's the Lions fans' hopes and dreams, but it's not going to happen. So Raiders will get a good player if they take him for sure.
So John, I assume that you agree that it's going to be Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen. I guess if there was another guy, I see them taking maybe Ed Oliver, but I think Josh Allen is the right pick for them. And as a Lions fan as well, it sucks to see, but I kind of went in here knowing we wouldn't really get Josh Allen. So I think Josh Allen for the Raiders is a smart move, the right move, and I think he's the best guy available for them.
So the real question, I think, is does this pick come in before we hit 1 minute?
It's a great question. It doesn't seem to be trending that way with how these picks have been going.
I don't know if teams are sort of doing their due diligence or if they or with the amount of moves that the amount of teams that want to move up and the amount of teams that want to move back. I don't know if they're just lengthy phone calls with several other GMs and maybe that's part of it as well. But here, here's another spot at 4 where I don't really see anyone moving up either. Haskins is probably going to be the next quarterback to come off the board, and all indications are he will be available much farther down. And there's, I think Josh Allen's going to be a great player, but there are a lot of other great rushers in this class, and I don't really think there's anyone else outside of those two guys that you would really want to move up for. So I don't see anyone making a trade here, but I suppose that they have to do their due diligence and try to see if they can get any extra picks for this one.
Yeah, I think you're right there. They're oh boy, that place looks empty. Raiders bar there.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, I'm a little surprised, and I know the reason the Jets pick took so long was, Schefter had reported that they were trying to trade out. They had been trying to trade out the entire time, and no one would go for it. So I just think if you're Oakland, there's no reason for you to want to trade out because you need this top 5 talent on your team. It's your job not to mess that up, but I think with the players that are still available, it'd be pretty hard to mess this pick up. Obviously, your defense is hurting. You don't have a pass rush. You've got, Mark, to your point, the pass rusher that's got the highest ceiling on the board. I don't know what the holdup is. I unless you're having a serious debate, like Dustin said, with Devin White or maybe Devin Bush. Who knows? I know they were really high on Rashawn Gary, but with that shoulder thing, I don't know if that knocked him down their board or not. But, we're clearly approaching the under minute mark and there's no pick in yet. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
We'll see if Dustin's got the scoop here in a second.
Dustin, your soothsayers have anything to say about this pick?
Robbie? Wait, what did you say? Sorry.
You got any inside information on?
Oh no, I didn't have any inside information.
Wow, we're keeping quiet over here.
Yeah. Well, what about throw this guy out there? He's probably the safest player in the draft. What if they just went T.J. Hawkinson and
I would love it.
Their skill positions on offense.
Would make me a little less nervous at 8 for sure.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think
it's like John Gruden picked me. I don't know.
I think it's somewhere they could go.
I don't
but
think it's gonna happen. I was just throwing it out there.
but yeah, I think there's maybe two or three guys at this point you would take above Hawkinson, and not that I think Hawkinson is one of the best tight ends to come out in a long time with his ability to block and catch the ball. He's a mismatch for safeties, and he's a mismatch for linebackers as well with his speed. I think he's a great player, but if I was picking and I had a need at edge rusher and I had a need at tight end, I'm picking Josh Allen. So I think I think Allen will probably be the pick, but Gruden's done some crazy things before, so it wouldn't completely shock me, but I'd be surprised if Hawkinson goes here.
Yeah, I would be. I don't know if I can't remember the last time I would, as shocked as I would be if they took Hawkinson at 4. I can't remember the last time I would have been that shocked in a draft before in my life.
All right. Well,
Holy shit!
Oh
Are you
boy,
kidding me?
yeah, I would.
Oh.
Huh.
What?
hang on.
I love this dude. This is crazy.
Clelin Ferrell with
Wow.
Josh Allen on the board.
Ooh.
Now that is a surprise.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen him
crap.
as low as like
You
in the
should threw him
20s
out there. I
in some
love
mock
this dude,
drafts.
but come on.
I think it's funny on ESPN they show the Raiders fans, and the one
Yeah.
and the one just kind of looks like, huh? Like she doesn't even know who that is, and then just starts cheering. Like,
I like
okay.
Farrell a lot.
I think this dude has a
see
lot of
him.
upside. And he could be really good, but this is kind of crazy. I know he was in the top 10 for the early portion, and he kind of fell off with other guys rising. But
So
this does feel like a Mike.
So bright
Mayock
side, our
type
Josh
pick right
Allen
here,
dream.
honestly, if you go
Our
back and
Josh
look at his
Allen
big
dream is still
boards,
alive, boys.
he loves these kind of guys that are like run stuffers that can get you 10 to 15 sacks max. Like 10, I would say, is probably closer to his max, but crazy.
Yeah,
Or,
absolutely. So yeah, John, to your point, obviously that helps us as Lions fans. Come closer to at least one pick closer to Josh Allen.
if Josh Allen somehow slides to 8 without us having to trade up, I would be. I think a team would actually move up before we'd get to 8 to take Josh Allen. I'm just still kind of a little shocked that the name I seen go across my TV at 4 was Farrell, but I like Farrell a lot. I just not what I was expecting.
Yeah, he's a good player, and I think that I think and maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll try to get in the head of John Gruden. I guess maybe part of what he's thinking is the development that that Josh Allen would need, and not that he's super far away or anything, but to reach his ultimate potential is probably going to take a couple of years. Farrell is probably more ready to contribute to close to 100% of his ceiling in his rookie season. And I know that probably, tempts Gruden. Obviously it did because he picked him. But, to Dustin's point, I think that Farrell is going to be a solid player, but not the kind of defensive disruptor or superstar that I think
Yeah.
Mark,
that I think they're going for.
I think also he does have great leadership and could be like I was talking about Devin White, like how Devin White would be the leader of the defense. I think he will walk in and he will lead that defense no matter how good or great he is. He's going to be a leader on that defensive line and that defensive locker room.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Austin, what do you give us your thoughts on Farrell first of all, and then tell us where you think Tampa Bay goes now at number 5.
So I think, Mark, I think you hit it right on the head with who Farrell is as a pass rusher and as an edge defender. He is more ready. He's not flashy. He's not gonna be the guy that blows by you or overpowers you. He's got good technique. He's really good with his hands and just his footwork and setting up his pass rush plan. So yeah, I agree. He could he is a little bit more ready and more complete, but with Josh Allen on the board, I don't quite understand it, but I am not a front man for any team. So I will try and understand it. And I think, to your point, Mark, he's complete. And to Dustin's point, he was one of the leaders for that Clemson defense. And the Raiders are kind of leaderless at this point. They're really, obviously, they're restarting everything on that team. And, he's definitely a guy that can be he's going to be the steady guy. He's not going to be the superstar, in my opinion, but he's going to be very consistent and steady for you. So I guess all in all, if that's your game plan, that's not a terrible pick. Tampa Bay at 5 now. I don't know if they were expecting Josh Allen to be available here. But they are absolutely in love with Devin White, and they got, Quan Alexander obviously in San Francisco now through free agency, Levante David on his last legs. And then you look at their linebackers on the roster now, no offense, John, Riley Burroughs on there from Michigan State, and there's some other guys too, but you don't have your guy
right
there in the middle of the defense. So I still think it's Devin White. I think Tampa Bay is going to take a really long and hard look at Josh Allen because I don't know if they really thought he was going to be here, especially with the Raiders in front of them. But I still think they got to go Devin White here.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be Devin White. I don't think this changes their plan. I guess we could debate on whether or not it should change their plan, but I don't think it really will. And I think Devin White fills a need with a very high quality player, for Tampa Bay. So I think that I think all that will allow them to be comfortable continuing with what their plan was to draft Devin White. John, so first of all, do you think that Tampa Bay sticks with their plan to draft Devin White? And if they do, does then the Giants get Josh Allen, or is this a spot where, as you mentioned earlier, maybe the Lions try to move up to number 6?
I don't think it's happening. The pick just got in on NFL Network, but what if they take out Oliver? They've been trying to get rid of LaShawn McCoy for Gerald McCoy, for a while. So his contract,
but they just
like $14 million. What
they
if they
just
took Oliver,
took
pair him with Vita Vea, and have their defensive line?
Yeah, I think Tampa's either going to go with Devin White, stick with the plan, or Josh Allen. As nasty it would be to pair Vita Vea with Ed Oliver, I just don't see them spending 2 first-round picks in a row on interior D-line. My gut says they stick with Devin White, but I mean, it's kind of hard to have a guy like Josh Allen on the board and pass him up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's Ed Oliver's an interesting idea for Tampa Bay for sure. But as you said, I don't really see it. And they need, Dustin talked about, having leadership before.
Yep.
They could use, Devin White's leadership. And I think that's one of the big character traits that they like about him. They could definitely use his leadership on that defense, manning the middle of that linebacking core.
And I think a wild card guy that we could see go really high or see fall a little bit is Michigan's middle linebacker in Devin Bush.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I think. Well, I guess we're about to hear it right now, but. Well, they're introducing somebody. Well,
now we just look on in anticipation. Oh man!
So while we're waiting for the Buccaneers pick, an interesting take here with the Raiders and agent Joel Siegel, who was representing Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack, represents Josh Allen and Ed Oliver. So
interesting.
Take that for what you will, but here comes the pick, I think.
Maybe they got a sour taste in their mouth from him.
Devin White, there it is.
Yep.
Easy peasy, Devin White. Okay.
So they stuck with the plan. That makes sense.
I think with a guy, when you have a guy like Devin White as your plan, I think it's one you stick with. They need a guy so bad, like Austin said, and like no offense to my fellow Michigan State fan friends, as I'm one of them as well. Riley Bull is not a guy that you want as your starting middle linebacker in the NFL, especially in a division like that. So I think Devin White was for sure the right choice for them. And selfishly for me as a Lions fan too, keep passing up Josh Allen, please.
Yeah. So now we've got the Giants on the clock. Another possible destination for Josh Allen, obviously.
It's going to turn into the Josh Allen show.
Right.
Where will he go?
But John, do you think that it's possible the Lions make a move up here?
I think this is where you have to think about doing it. Like Austin said earlier, you're 2 picks back. You're going to have to give up some capital, but I think this is the part in the draft at 6 where it's affordable for the Lions to where you're not having to risk your future and put it all on Josh Allen, to where I think you could trade up right here and not have a lot of people be upset about it. I think it would be more of a. I kind of want to sit at 8 still and see what happens or trade down, but man, does Josh Allen sound nice if we can get him and not give up a lot for that pick.
Let's assume that Josh Allen isn't the pick for the Giants. Where else could they go?
Ed Oliver.
Yeah, Ed Oliver. Yeah.
Anybody else talking, Mark?
I'm just trying to think because the Giants' decision making is just interesting. I'm trying to think of like a horrible pick here. I'm trying to get inside
would
the
be
head.
Daniel Jones at 6. That would be a horrible pick.
Boy,
I really hope.
love to see that.
I would too as a Cowboys fan. That'd be nice, but I don't know if they're that.
The guy who was born in '97 and still decides to wear the long sleeve jersey.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Dustin, what
Yes.
first of all, what do you think the chances are that the Giants go with Josh Allen here, and if they don't, where else could they go?
Oh, they could go quarterback.
Oh please, Daniel
Rumors are they
Jones.
like Daniel Jones. He's a
Oh
super
boy.
reach for me. Dwayne Haskins, I think, fits him well. He probably needs to sit for a year. He only has 1 year of college experience. So they want to play Eli, it seems like, for another 50 years. So I'll draft Dwayne Haskins.
I'm starting to get a weird feeling it's going to be Daniel
happy
Jones.
to have him as my quarterback at the future, especially after passing on Sam Darnold last year. And if not him, though, I could also see Ed Oliver. They do need new D-line help.
I kind of feel like that's where my dreams just die and they take Josh Allen.
Now. That's why they traded the Lions, Damian Harrison. So, I mean, he can play that 3-tech and drive up field. And we know their GM, Dave Gettleman, loves defensive and offensive linemen. So,
well, the pick is in before the 3-minute mark expires.
Oh, wow. This makes me think it's Allen.
Oh, God, don't say that.
It probably is.
Or they just love Daniel Jones that much they couldn't wait to get to the podium.
Could be.
I'm just gonna hope it's Daniel Jones and smile.
I have a bad feeling it's Josh Allen.
Before it's announced.
It's kind of, I hate scenarios like this where the guy that you want and like you gave up hope for,
and
then he gets to you like a pick or 2 away, and that happened to me with the Pistons a few years ago. I don't remember who it was, but it's like, oh man, this guy's falling to us. And then it's just like the pick right before you. There it goes.
Yep.
It happened to me last year when Derwin James fell out of the top 5 and he got to 15 and the Cowboys sitting at 17 with a huge need at safety. And I mean, I'm not mad about LVE.
I was going to say, I think it turned out okay for you guys.
Yes, it certainly did. But I mean, Derwin James was an all-pro in his own right. So
for sure.
It would have been nice, but hey, it worked out. But yeah, I definitely
it's bad.
know.
The picks in Bleacher Report.
Who is it?
Just don't. Oh God,
they selected motherfucking Daniel Jones.
Oh my!
Daniel Jones,
the franchise, the piece of crap Eli 2.0. You gotta be kidding me.
Wow!
Garbage franchise. The Lions are either getting T.J. Hawkinson.
Austin will be familiar with
Josh
this.
Allen, depending on if the Jaguars
Austin will be familiar with this, but
let's go.
Us as Michiganders, I'm pretty sure all 3 of us are. 97 won the ticket.
Dave Gettleman.
Mike Valeni is going to be all over this pick.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I cannot wait to tune
agree.
in tomorrow.
He is going to be hot.
Oh my God,
tomorrow.
look at the Giants. Oh my God, I cannot wait for the show tomorrow. So also a little backstory. Mike Flenny's like a super popular talk radio host here in Detroit, but he's from New York. He's a huge Giants fan, and he went on this classic Eli Manning rant multiple times, and now he hates Daniel Jones, and so he's going to go on the show tomorrow and just be hot. Is an understatement.
You know, I will say, I guess in defense of the Giants, I don't like this pick at all. I will preface my comments by that. But
There's no defending this, man.
I can see from their point of view that they are apparently of the impression that Eli Manning has a year or two left before before he retires, and they know they need a quarterback after him, and they think this guy is it. So I can see, why they make this pick in that case. I mean, if these were different players we were talking about, a different quarterback coming out of college and a different quarterback that's playing right now, then it makes a lot more sense. As I said, I think it's a terrible pick, but I can at least see the logic they're trying to put into it. I just think it's completely faulty logic.
Yeah, I think you go Haskins. I mean, I guess if you're in love with him, whatever, but
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Oh, yeah. So the Jaguars don't really need an outside linebacker like Josh Allen. So what if they you think the Jaguars are likely to trade this pick, trade down, someone comes up and gets him, jumps the Lions, or you think he's falling right in the Detroit Lions' lap and MSE Madness champion is going to be the pick of the Detroit Lions?
I personally, I think the Jaguars are going with Hawkinson.
You wrote an article, 3 weeks ago about how he's the perfect fit?
Right.
What are you thinking right now? We're getting to this point, one more pick in between.
Right. Yeah, I agree. John, I'm agreeing with what I agree with what you say, but go ahead and finish your point about Hawkinson.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars really want to get a guy for Nick Foles as a weapon. So I think the Jaguars are going to go O-line here to protect him, or they're going to go with TJ Hawkinson. I don't really see them going with a guy like Josh Allen. They definitely don't need it. I could see them trading down, I guess, but I think they love Hawkinson a lot. And I don't think they really want to risk moving down and losing the potential, because I know Austin brought up to me today with Buffalo liking Hawkinson as well. So I think they go with TJ Hawkinson here or Jonah Williams.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's probably going to be Hawkinson, and I don't think it's a bad pick.
I agree. I think it's a good pick for them.
Austin, what do you think? Do you think they're going to pick Hawkinson here? Do you think they're going to go offensive line? And if they trade, who's the most likely candidate to move up and try to get Josh Allen?
So I think the Jaguars, the pick's in. Tom Coughlin and Doug Marrone have really kind of built that identity of the offensive line and running the football, and they finally have a quarterback to kind of complement that and maybe even do a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Juwan Taylor from Florida to plug in at right tackle here. To your guys' point, Jonah Williams from Alabama could this Giants fan on my team. I wonder what he's saying.
Picks in.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, to your point, a tight end would be, huge here for them. But I really think just the way they've trended, offensive line, I think it's going to be Jonah Williams or it's going to be Juwan Taylor for them, which means unless this pick is traded, and to what you guys are saying, Detroit's pick should be in about 30 seconds.
Yep.
Because Josh Allen just fell to you in the most unrealistic scenario.
If somehow Josh Allen falls to us and we do not take him, I might just hang up on you guys. I'm going to be honest with you.
I wouldn't blame you.
And I might be gone for the night. But if the pick is in. So if he falls into our lap, if we're not running to that podium, if Bob Quinn is not locking that pick in as soon as the Jaguars pick, I don't know what else we were thinking.
Yeah.
You better not trade down. And like I can see the scenario trading down if Allen's gone already, but this guy is your perfect fit for what we want to do here in Detroit. And he falls into your lap, which was completely unrealistic. I mean, just 20 minutes ago, here I am explaining to you guys that I didn't really let the Josh Allen dreams get to me because it's not happening. And here we are about a minute away from the dream and the potential of this guy coming here happening. It better happen.
Yeah, I agree. With the pick coming in this fast, I don't think there's a trade. And so I think to Austin's point, it's either going to be an offensive lineman or Hawkinson. So I think
all of our hearts are broken, guys.
Well, I mean, hey. Well, I swear to God, if we take TJ Hawkinson, I might hang up as well.
that really surprises me. I think that obviously Josh Allen is the pick for
God, that
Jacksonville.
hurts.
I think they had bigger needs. I think I don't know. It surprises me.
I think
really
if it's
surprises me.
one thing we know about the Jaguars is they love their pass rush and they love building a defense. So you got a guy like Josh Allen who falls into your lap at 7. I mean, there's really. But this is coming to my worst fear of what the Lions are going to do. We're either going to go. If we don't trade down, I have a feeling we're going Jonah Williams or TJ Hawkinson. And I'm not going to be a thrilled fan tonight.
Well, I could see them going Montez Sweat too.
Oh, God, that would make me so happy, Mark. Keep telling me that.
I think that's definitely a possibility. I think I think they could trade down out of this too, looking to draft someone like Brian Burns or someone like that a little bit later in the draft. With Josh Allen gone
I'll be
now.
right back, boys.
Yep. With Josh Allen gone now, do you think, first of all, Dustin, who do you think they would be like, the Lions would be likely to trade with here?
Oh.
Okay, Austin, who do you think the Lions would be likely to trade with here if they trade down?
I would say you look at maybe, I think Dustin made a good point. I think Miami might be happy where they're at. I think Cincinnati is an interesting choice to come up. The Redskins, seeing the Giants take Daniel Jones early, I know there was some debate about, Daniel Jones versus Dwayne Haskins. So, Washington, and they don't have they have Case Keenum, I think. And then Alex Smith, big contract, but you don't know if he's even going to play again with that horrible injury he suffered. And then, so they basically got 5 quarterbacks and none of them are your guy. They're not going to be a franchise guy. So, Washington maybe seeing Daniel Jones go, maybe they get a little nervous with teams like Denver, Cincinnati, Miami in front of them. I think that could be a candidate, but I would want the Lions. I think they would want to trade out, but I saw something. I don't know if Schefter was meaning to talk about the Jaguars because he said something about the Lions getting calls to trade out, but they decided to pick. But again, like I said, I don't know if that's true or not because I would think that the Lions would want to trade out here. To John's point, I think Hawkinson, he is an elite prospect and he will be a day 1 starter, but 8 is a little rich. But it looks like the Lions are going to pick and it's the pick is in. So we will find out exactly what's going on here.
Yep.
I think Hawkinson is not too early, actually. I think he's like a really good player. He's probably the best tight end prospect since Vernon Davis. Has the ability to block and catch, unlike Eric Ebron, who Lions fans think all tight ends are like. So I'm okay with that if that's the pick, but I'm really hoping for Jonah Williams right now to complete the offensive line.
Now Hawkinson, when they signed Jesse James to that, I think it was 4-year, $25 million deal. If they draft Hawkinson in round one, obviously that allows them to run a lot of two tight end sets, which is fine. But that's a lot of money to tie up into one position, especially the tight end position. Do you think that might be a factor in who they draft?
Hawkinson is the pick.
Oh, there it is. There you
All
go.
right. Pick is in. The newest Detroit Lion is Hawkinson, TJ Hawkinson. So, I like him. I like him as a player, but I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed Lions fans, tomorrow.
I think he's not the flashy pick that most people want to see in a top 10 position, but I mean, to Dustin's point, he is an elite prospect. I don't think Vernon Davis was certainly a speedy receiver guy, but I mean, TJ Hawkinson is not quite as fast, but I think he's a way better blocker than Vernon Davis was. He's really the complete tight end package. You think of, Gronk as that guy that can block, was aggressive blocking, and was a mismatch down the field. So, Matthew Stafford's got another toy. I think it's going to help the offense out a little bit there. And like you said, not the flashiest pick. It's not going to excite a lot of people, but it's certainly not a horrible pick at 8. And especially if TJ Hawkinson is really high on your draft board, teams like the Buffalo Bills are probably going to scoop him up if he gets by you at 8. So that just goes to show how high Detroit was, I think, on TJ.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And they did not complete a trade. So yeah, I like Hawkinson a lot. I think that he will that he'll contribute a lot to the offense. I think I wrote an article actually on the site about why they needed to draft Hawkinson, but yeah, I this is going to be a divisive pick for sure, and I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed Lions fans.
Yep, but I think once the season starts, I think he'll kind of show, okay, he's not that bad of a pick. It was a good pick in hindsight when he starts producing really well on the field and is making that impact. But, as a fan, it's really tough to see that, the forward thinking, so to speak, with a tight end, because you think flashy tight end, you think Noah Fant. But, I think TJ will prove his worth. It'll just be a patience thing for Lions fans. Yeah, we'll kind of see how the rest shakes out. TJ was being mocked to the Lions a lot recently, and it looks like there was a lot of merit to that.
Looks like we lost a person.
Yeah.
Well, not what I was looking for, but kind of figure what I thought would happen when I seen Josh Allen go. But
so
now muted. Are we kind of running the show? I think.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think.
So I guess I'll just go into what the issue I have with the pick is, and I think Hawkinson's going to be fine. But it's the same thing that happened when we drafted Eric Ebron. We just signed Brandon Pettigrew to an extension, which Brandon Pettigrew wasn't really that good either. And then you go out and you draft a tight end in the first round when you have other needs. And then this year you go out and sign Jesse James, who I don't think is like the end-all be-all future tight end of the Detroit Lions. When you have other needs, though, and you sign him to a pretty hefty deal, and you go out and draft a TJ Hawkinson. And I guess with the new scheme of Darrell Bevell, when you kind of want to run the ball, kind of how Seattle runs their offense, when they had him there, it kind of makes sense. But man, with so much talent on the defensive side still there, kind of would have rather seen them go a different way. But I mean, hey, I'm not going to judge this pick until I see how the rest of the draft goes on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and to your point, looking at the defensive line, it's a deep class. So
yeah.
And then it certainly, begs to differ if there's someone that maybe the Lions like towards the end of the first round. Do they try and trade up? I clearly Josh Allen falling out of the top 5, getting past, Oakland and the Giants for the Jaguars to take. Basically, they went best player available versus a need, which is typically what you want to do. And that situation with them, they're a really good roster that somehow got a top 10 pick. So, who knows? Maybe the Lions aren't done tonight. I don't know if they have a history of trading back into the first round, but you never know with how things are shaking out. But moving on to Buffalo here, obviously TJ Hawkinson was a guy that Buffalo probably had their eyes on and wanted. But Ed Oliver's still there, intriguing guy to plug into your defense there. I know at some point DK Metcalf was a guy for a big time tool for the other Josh Allen to throw to, or do they think we're talking so much TJ Hawkinson here? Noah Fant is still there too, and he's an immense receiving threat. Do the Buffalo Bills, did they just pick him? We'll certainly see, but I think certainly a couple different ways that Buffalo could have gone in.
Yeah, I guess Austin, as me as a Lions fan, you as a neutral guy here for that aspect, should I be upset or you talked me off the cliff last year when I was upset with the Ragnow pick. Is there a way you can talk me off the cliff with this one?
I think it's just going to be a matter of patience.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a day one guy. He's going to be an impact player. He's going to transform that offense, especially with wanting to run the ball a little bit more, to your point. And I think maybe to Mark's point a little bit with Seattle kind of following that mold a little bit. So he's the complete tight end. He's, Lions fans that are crying, woe is me with Ebron, night and day difference. Ebron was a pure pass catcher and just didn't pan out in that regard. TJ is both. I mean, he is a nasty run blocker, and he's actually still got room to grow as a pass catcher. So that, just patience, I would say, for Lions fans. Just wait and see. But pick 9 is in, and it is Ed Oliver going to
doesn't surprise me at all. Good pick.
So they get one of the more intriguing prospects, I would say, in Ed Oliver. Undersized and a little underweight. I know at the combine he came in at around the 280 mark. There were actually teams reportedly looking at him as they wanted him to do some linebacker drills. So that's just kind of an idea of the up and down of Ed Oliver and his journey. And, obviously projected as a top 10, top 5 guy, also projected as a guy that falls into the 20s. I'm sure the Falcons are crying right now because they were really in love with him. But, definitely a really good – I think Buffalo did well here with Ed Oliver.
Sorry, guys. I had to do
no big deal.
I had to do an article real quick on the new pick. So anyone that's listening that wants to read the thoughts of Michigan Sports Entertainment on the new pick, go ahead and check that article out on MichiganSportsEntertainment.com. But
just scrolling through my Twitter feed, my personal Twitter feed, no longer a Lions fan is one of them. If the Lions take O-line at or tight end at 8, I'm a Ravens Chargers fan. Yeah, there's Josh Allen heartbreak emoji. There's a lot of so actually update on the Mike Valeni thing, Mark. He sent in the group text of the show 3 separate texts. I quit. I'm done. This is criminal.
Yeah, that is going to be a must listen to radio tomorrow.
Yeah, and this is another thing, a good tweet right here, which I kind of said to Austin when you were gone, Mark, is my original issue with the Ebron thing is they just re-signed Pettigrew, and this year we're paying Jesse James $5.6 million a year, and then you drafted tight end at 8.
Yeah,
And I kind of get how they're moving to a Seattle scheme kind of thing, but with how many, like a guy like Ed Oliver there, or Montez Sweat, and many other guys that we could have used on the defensive side of the ball. But like I told Austin, I'm going to hold my judgment until I see what we do in the second round for the defense, and then go from there. But it's just kind of leaving me.
Yeah, that Jesse James contract looks really bad now.
That's my thing. I mean, you were already paying him a decent amount, and I was okay with the contract because I thought, okay, this kind of defers us away from going tight end at 8, and apparently that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I understand that there's that the Lions are probably looking at round 2, and thinking that they can get some edge defenders there, and they probably can get some. I think if not to go back to Josh Allen too much, but I think if Josh Allen had been there, Josh Allen would have been the pick over Hawkinson. I would have to imagine.
Oh God, can you imagine if Josh Allen was there and we passed him?
Their Quinn is insane if they were going to still go Hawkinson there. But Hawkinson has the potential to be a very good player, and it's definitely a pick that will work out for them. I think. I don't think he'll be a bust like Ebron is.
Yeah.
But I do think they had bigger needs to fill, especially after the contract they gave to Jesse James, and I think Sweat. I think Oliver. I think there were lots of other places they could go. And it's surprising. I mean, I know Quinn and Patricia are buddies, and he didn't give him a stud for his his defense. So that kind of shocks me a little bit too.
Yeah, I think they're really committing to going with the Seattle scheme. I think now the only problem with it is you are paying your quarterback what you're paying him. That's not really how Seattle did things behind that offense with a quarterback who you're kind of thinking of. You want a guy who's going to roll out a bunch and not have to make all the throws. And here we are. Don't have the money to pay more defensive guys when you already got Stafford making what, 28 mil, 25. Yeah. Which I mean, I don't dislike Stafford. I love Stafford as a player. I just think if they are going to move this way towards the Seattle thing, I think there's different ways that we could have gone about this.
Is it possible that the Lions try to get back into the first round to pick someone like, let's say Brian Burns is still there around 23, 24. Do they try to trade back into the first round and pick him up?
I think looking at history, I would say no, but I think there's a lot of heat on Quinn and Patricia already this draft. So I think this would be the way to go.
Oh, so we've got our first trade of the evening. The Steelers have traded from pick 20, 10 spots up to pick 10. So the Broncos traded down. I'm sure Schefter's breaking down what exactly all went in the trade there. But so who do we think? So the Steelers jumping up to 10. I think they're pulling the trigger for Devin Bush.
I agree.
Michigan.
I agree. I think it's going to be Devin Bush. I think he fits into the Pittsburgh mold very well, and I think that obviously they've been very high on him, and I think that's going to be the pick. I think it's going to be Devin Bush. I'm interested to see what they gave up to move up 10 spots into the top 10.
Yes, I agree. So definitely pick 20. I would think the second round pick. Did they give up a next year's first rounder? What is the attitude in Pittsburgh right now? Are they all in? They just gave Ben Roethlisberger a 2-year, contract extension. They traded Antonio Brown, so they've got 2 extra late round picks in the third. Well, not late, mid round picks in the 3rd and the 5th for Antonio Brown. You've got Juju Smith-Schuster, you've got James Conner, you've got I think James Washington from Oklahoma State. Is that? I think that's who it is. So you've got guys. Your offensive line is still intact. Your defense is the problem, and obviously, when Ryan Shazier went down, they haven't been able to replace him yet. But, I guess here we are. And did they go ahead and pull the trigger on their next defensive quarterback at linebacker?
Right. We are about to find out.
All right. Mean Joe Green. That fan saying Devin Bush. Yep, there it is, Devin Bush. So the Steelers not wanting to put anything to chance on missing out on their linebacker, with Cincinnati in the division picking next, where Devin Bush was projected to go to Cincinnati because they need a guy. So jumping over your rival and taking, a top linebacker, so, like I said, some argued to be the best linebacker over Devin White. So big move for Pittsburgh there to get their guy.
Yep, and the first Michigan player off the board this year. Obviously, we all saw Devin Bush play. Rashawn Gary, comparing him to Rashawn Gary, I think Rashawn Gary has the potential to be a very good player in the NFL. We'll have to see what happens with his shoulder and everything, and how effective he can be in his rookie season. But when you look at effort and when you look at production in college, I think there's no argument that in a game in and game out basis that Devin Bush was far more productive than Rashawn Gary was. Rashawn Gary was better at times when he was on, but Devin Bush gave it his all, every game that he played in, and that I think probably wowed a lot of the Steelers' top brass. So not a big surprise to me that this is the pick.
Yeah. And then when you get a chance, I think John said something weird happened. He got booted. But
yeah, I just sent him an invitation again.
Okay, cool. And to your point as well with Devin Bush, what the Steelers defense asks their linebackers to do in coverage, Devin Bush, I think, was the little bit better choice as far as, being better in space and being better, in his zones than Devin White. So again, you go back to Ryan Shazier. He was excellent at everything, and obviously that horrible injury where he's walking, he's doing a little training, but will he see the football field again? I don't think so.
Right.
So I think Devin Bush is really the better fit for Pittsburgh, and just what they're asking their linebackers to do on a coverage basis.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I know there were some concerns with Bush's size. He's a bit undersized for an NFL linebacker, but I think his versatility and the way he's a ball hawk, and the way he plays those underneath routes, I think he'll fit right in with Pittsburgh. I think he's exactly the type of player that they like to see. And I think it's a good pick. Well, depending on how much they gave up, I guess we'll have to see. I think if they went, their first this year, their second this year, and their first next year, that's maybe a little too much. But we'll have to see what the compensation was coming up for that. But as you pointed out, I think it's a good point. If they hadn't moved up and taken him there, it's very likely that Cincinnati probably would have taken him. And that's, like you said, the divisional rivals. They might have given up a little more than even they would have liked to to move past their divisional rivals on this one.
Yeah. So I'm actually kind of curious to see where Cincinnati decided to go. Do they go quarterback? So they've got a new head coach that came from Los Angeles with Jared Goff. I've heard Drew Lock kind of has that flair to him a little bit, that developmental where kind of Goff was a little bit when he was taken number 1 overall. Dwayne Haskins has got that elite short to mid-range accuracy that the Rams offense kind of really lived on all season long. So did they go quarterback here with their top defensive guy off the board? I'm really curious to see what Cincinnati's going to do here.
Yeah, I think this is another, this is a place where it gets dicey as to try to predict all these different things. But yeah, I could definitely see them going quarterback here. There's some defensive players I think that could go here as well. So I think this is definitely going to be an interesting one for sure. And I'm not really sure where I think they're going to go. Cincinnati is here, but it looks like the pick is in, so we're about to find out.
Yep. I must be a little bit ahead of you. It is Jonah Williams from Alabama.
Oh, okay.
So we were both wrong.
I don't hate it. It's definitely they want to build their line, and get protection, and everything. So I think I can see it. I think he's definitely a good player, and I think he's going to be a very good lineman in the league.
Yeah, I agree. I think wherever he plays, whether that's at tackle or guard, he'll be just fine. He's a plug and play guy. Begs the question if the new coaching staff is all in with Andy Dalton. Where are the Bengals at right now in where they view their team? So with this pick, I guess it kind of signifies to me they're still going to try and run with Andy Dalton, AJ Green, and then obviously Joe Mixon is an excellent talent at running back. So certainly strengthening the offensive line protects all 3 of those guys really and gets them more involved in everything. And again, a very, very strong pick here at 11 for him.
Yeah, I think it's I definitely think that that this is a good pick. I think that that this will definitely help out their line, help out their offense for sure. I like Jonah Williams a lot as well. Green Bay's on the clock now, and it's interesting. They, if the Lions had not drafted Hawkinson, I'm pretty sure Green Bay would have drafted Hawkinson. So I guess that's another sort of silver lining is that you don't have to face Hawkinson twice a year now. With Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay's got some needs. Where do you think they go? Do you think they go offense? Do you think they go defense? Noah Fant. I mean, they do need a tight end. Noah Fant's still on the board. Might be a little high to take him, but where do you think Green Bay is probably going to go at this point?
So I agree with you. I don't know if it's Noah Fant. That might be high. They have a needed safety, but none of the safeties are worth the 12th overall pick right now.
Right.
In my mind, I've seen in recent mocks here, when it wasn't TJ Hawkinson, Andre Dillard out of Washington State, lot of reps in pass protection, up there for Mike Leach. Great footwork and is an experienced pass blocker. And when you think of the situation at right tackle for the Packers and Brian Bulaga, I believe that's how his last name's pronounced. Mm-hmm. He's on his last leg a little bit. He's been banged up a lot, and I believe he's a free agent after this year. So, if you're the Packers, do you sign an aging vet, or with 2 picks in the first round, do you take a top offensive tackle to seal up that right side to pair with David Bakhtiari and keep Aaron Rodgers upright. So I think offensive line is certainly a route that the Packers could take here.
Yeah, I think offensive line is probably their best bet at this point, which also means that Oliver and company, I guess, are would fall even further. So I have this thought that the Lions are going to make a big move, not here at 12, but I do think they're going to. I have this sneaking suspicion they're going to come back into the first round somehow. And if a player like Oliver or Burns is there, where it doesn't take a ton to move back into the first round, I feel like that they might do that, and sort of try to have it both ways: get the tight end they wanted, and get a defensive lineman for that defense. Where do you think, if the Lions did trade back into the first round, where would you target? Who would you target? What team?
So really quick, it must have been when you're writing the article, Ed Oliver went 9 to the Bills. So
he did?
He's off the
Okay.
board.
All
but
right.
To your point with Brian Burns and Montez Sweat still out there, who I think the Lions are at least high on. Sweat. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he did not come off the board with the heart issue that everyone knew about already.
Right.
So I think a good trade candidate here for the Lions would be the Seahawks. So they're sitting at 21 and at 29 with especially maybe surrounding Montez Sweat here, because I don't know if Burns gets past Tennessee. I think it's 17. With Montez Sweat, teams taking him off the board, if he falls into that early 20 spot, and I think Seattle, they've got needs on their roster. They got an extra first round pick from Kansas City, albeit a late round one, but they've got some different needs, and this draft is deep in where they're needing to go, especially since we'll kind of see if the safeties are coming off in the later rounds. So I think 21 Seattle Seahawks would be a good spot to target for the Lions.
Yeah, I agree. I think that
sorry to cut you off there.
Okay.
So Packers pick is in Rashawn Gary from Michigan.
Yeah, Rashawn Gary goes number 12. So the Lions, Michigan fans in Detroit, Lions fans will see him twice a year at least. Interesting pick. I think Gary has the potential to be a very good player. Like I said, consistency issues, motor issues. That's my main concern with him. But I think that obviously the Packers defense is not what it was, and he should help with their pass rush. We'll see how this works out for Green Bay. I think they had some more needs that they could have gone for, but I guess they figured that Gary was just too good of a talent to pass up at number 12, and he's good value for a 12th overall pick.
Yeah, especially when early on after his performance at the combine, he was kind of going at top 5, top 10 before the shoulder thing. So yeah, and you think about the defensive line for the Packers, who's rushing the passer over there nowadays? I don't even know. Their interior, I think, is strong, and I like their their linebackers with Blake Martinez and I think it's Jake Ryan from Michigan, right?
Yeah.
So no more Clay Matthews. I know that they picked up a guy in free agency, and it's escaping me, but kind of to the point of the high ceiling potential pick guy. was not on that roster at defensive line, at end to rush the passer, and now it is. So especially with a second pick coming in the first round, their need at safety, depending on how the rest of the offensive line prospects go, certainly some availability there. Do they get Aaron Rodgers a new toy? Is Noah Fant still available, or do they go wide receiver? So certainly a lot of different ways to go, and kind of a good spot at 30 to see how everything falls. And, maybe they do want to move up and grab someone they really like. So I think the Packers are in a good spot at 30, and, picking a premier pass rusher at 12 was a good choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I have details, at least according to ESPN's Field Yates, on the trade that the Steelers made in order to get Devin Bush. The Steelers gave up their first round pick this year, number 20, their second round pick, the 52nd overall pick, and next year's third round pick in order to Denver, in order to move up the 10 spots.
Wow.
That's I think that's okay. They a third rounder along with the first and second this year. It's a decent haul, and Denver will certainly probably benefit, if they can make the right picks, obviously. but that's I think that's a decent deal.
Yeah, I think holding on to your first for next year is a big deal, and even your second. So I think that's a really good job. Going 10 from 20 to 10 is not easy to get into the top 10, even though that it's the very tail end there. But kudos to them. I think that's a strong deal for them, and especially if you think Devin Bush is going to be your next Ryan Shazier, and that's what you feel like you're missing on your defense to kind of put it back together a little bit. So, they went out and got their guy. It was between probably him and making that decision to go get him, or Rock Ya-Sin, the corner from Temple. But clearly it's Devin Bush, and we'll see who the Dolphins pick. The pick is in right now. A lot of different things that Miami could do here, going from quarterback to they no longer have Cameron Wake or Robert Quinn to rush the passer. So, Mark, where do you think they're going to go here?
I think in my gut, I think it's probably going to be Dwayne Haskins here. I could see them going Sweat. I could see them, going maybe even Burns. But I think what they'll end up doing is they'll go for Dwayne Haskins. I think the Dolphins are probably happy they stayed where they were. They didn't have to make any movements, and I think I know they've been pretty enamored with Haskins, and I think they'll be happy to be able to draft him here. Obviously, quarterback is a need in Miami, so I think that's probably where they go in the first round. And this outside of Josh Allen and Rashawn Gary and Ed Oliver, I think the next group of edge rushers is maybe going to have to wait a little bit in the first round to get selected.
Yeah, and so the Dolphins went defensive tackle Christian Wilkins from Clemson.
Okay.
And that's right before Atlanta. So I am sure Atlanta just threw something in the war room because they have a big need at trying to pair somebody with Grady Jarrett. Ed Oliver's gone. Christian Wilkins just went. I think, maybe Dexter Lawrence maybe is their next option, or, outside of him, maybe a tackle. But I think I like the, this pick, the Wilkins pick for the Dolphins. Brian Flores being the new head coach there, I believe, coming from the Patriots, as the former defensive coordinator there. Wilkins is going to be Wilkins almost taking out the commish there. He's a leader. He was a leader for that Clemson defense. Definitely a guy that will make an impact on the interior of that line and kind of be maybe that cornerstone leader type that you can kind of build, not necessarily build around, because you don't really build around an interior defensive lineman, but kind of setting the mold for the type of player and the type of kind of want for there's a splits in Miami, because I think they've been kind of a little bit of an up and down team, so to speak. They're inconsistent with how hard they play, and they're playing just in general. So Wilkins is a guy that's going to be 100% all the time, running, going, engine nonstop, and a leader. So I can definitely rationalize this pick for Miami.
Yeah, I actually love this pick. I think that Wilkins is going to be one of those guys that fell a little bit, but I think he's going to be one of the best defenders to come out of this class. Obviously, they had Ndamukong Suh for a little while. Their defense, played a little better with him, but I think Wilkins is obviously a different type of player, but I think he is going to be really good. I think it's a very good pick for Miami. My only worry is, can they put what he needs around them? Will he play well but languish in Miami? Miami's got a lot of work to do in order to build their team up. This is definitely a good start, but if they want to be successful, they're going to need to put more pieces around him, and that's a big question still up in the air.
Yeah, yep. I agree with you. It'll be interesting to see what Miami does. No more Tannehill. They've got Ryan Fitzpatrick there as the stopgap. Are they looking to draft a quarterback in the 2020 class with Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and Fromm from Georgia? So we'll kind of see with Miami on the offensive side, but I agree with you. I think Wilkins is a good start to building a new culture, I think, in Miami that, you're going to need that with, obviously, against New England. I think Buffalo's starting to build the right way. And, I don't really know about the Jets, but I guess time will tell with them. So Atlanta's pick is in. Defensive tackle, I know, is a big need for them. Offensive tackle is another need for them. Outside of those two positions, I don't know if I've seen much else. I think they're maybe with the edge rushers available if they really like one there. We're now, I think, in the coin flip era stage of the draft where anybody could really go at this point. Obviously thinking offense for Miami and they go defense, and then the same thing with the Packers, thinking offense again and they go defense with Rashawn Gary. So, oh man, what is this Power Ranger Clemson going on here?
Yeah, I think that this is definitely the speculative part of the draft now, especially with what's come before, with some surprises before. I would have thought maybe Atlanta would try harder to trade out. I guess I'm sure they tried. I guess that that they didn't really find any takers for this pick, because at this point, with the pick being in, we would have heard about a trade already. So yeah, defensive tackle, I think, is obviously their biggest need. Offensive tackle is another big need for them. I really don't know where they go. I mean, this could be a spot where Sweat goes. It could be it could be a spot for. It's too high for Brian Burns, I think. And outside of that, I'm trying to think who the next. Maybe Dexter Lawrence. Could be a possibility here at defensive tackle. Maybe Cody Ford. A little high for both those players, but I don't really know outside of that.
Yeah. So it was an offensive player, wasn't a tackle, but a guard. They went with Chris Lindstrom from Boston College.
Okay.
So
high for him.
Yes, I agree with you, but I think the interior offensive line class is not very deep in its own right. So I think he's an effective player. I think he's a good player. I think he can go in and help that Atlanta offensive line and help open some holes up and protect Matt Ryan. I think really Atlanta's just got to stay healthy. That was in my mind, their biggest issue. Hey, look, a clip of the Purdue Boilermakers not getting any pressure. Nice. We won that game, but what a good sight that was. But yeah, I think they're trying to protect Matt Ryan. I think it was a weird situation for the Falcons again. Big, deep roster, but a lot of injuries that kind of hurt them down the stretch. So, investing in the offensive line, never a bad thing to do to shore that up. So we'll see. I think we're officially on Dwayne Haskins' watch now with 15 with Washington here. And then another quick aside, I think John was trying to get back in here. So I don't know if you could try and send him another invite. It said he couldn't join, that he wasn't allowed to, which is
weird.
Weird. So
yeah, I think this is going to be Dwayne Haskins. I had thought before that that Washington might have traded for Josh Rosen. I thought that they would be a natural spot where they could do some things there and maybe trade for him. Obviously that didn't happen. So I think at this point it's got to be Dwayne Haskins. Washington needs a quarterback. I know they got Case Keenum, but they still need a young quarterback. Haskins could sit for a year behind Keenum, depending on how things go. He could be a day one starter. But I think that the only other position that I could think of that they could go for here is cornerback, I guess. And maybe this might be a place for Byron Murphy or somebody like that, possibly. But I really think it's probably going to be Haskins. I don't really see many other scenarios.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really am not sure where else Washington can go. They do not have a quarterback. You look at all of the teams in the NFC East right now. You got Carson Wentz with the Eagles. You've got Dak Prescott with the Cowboys. You've got Eli Manning 2.0 and Daniel Jones that the Giants spent the 6th overall pick on. And you for better or for worse, I guess they got their guy. So we'll kind of see. But Washington, they've got Alex Smith that you don't know if he's going to be able to come back or not. You've got Case Keenum that is not a franchise guy. He's definitely a stopgap guy.
Mm-hmm.
You need to kind of compete with the rest of the teams in your division or get left in the dust. And I think Dan Snyder is one of those guys that would, doesn't want to be left in the dust, so to speak, by the other teams here. So unless they're trying to trade out or there's a big debate in the room, I honestly, I don't even know where they would go outside of quarterback here. I really don't.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, the cornerback is the only other place that I could see, but I honestly, I think it's too high for Greedy Williams. I think it's too high for Byron Murphy. they could trade back and get those guys if they were looking for that. I think this is the natural place for Dwayne Haskins to go, and I think that will probably be the pick.
That's what I'm agreeing with you here. So the pick is in, so we'll see if the commissioner will be walking up here soon or not. Looking at Mel Kiper's best available, Dwayne Haskins, Montez Sweat. Jeffrey Simmons is an interesting prospect, obviously towards ACL and won't play until potentially late in the year, if at all this year. Montez Sweat was still up there as well. So we'll kind of see. I like I said, like you said, I really don't know how else they can go outside of Dwayne Haskins here. They're showing the stage. They're showing some pumped up fans. Let's see here.
See where the Redskins go.
All right. Commissioner's walking up to the podium. He's got the card.
Looks like it's Haskins.
And yes, sir.
Yep.
Dwayne Haskins going 15th to the Washington Redskins. I think it's a smart pick for them. One of the better quarterbacks fell to you. You didn't have to move to get him. And you're keeping up with everyone else in your division.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good pick for them. Like you said, they need a quarterback. With Case Keenum there, like you said, he's not a franchise guy. Obviously, Dwayne Haskins has the potential to be. Possibly he sits a year while Keenum plays. We'll see. I'm sure there will be some debate, amongst fans of Washington, and then as they get into camp and they see, who shines, and decide what they're going to do there. I don't think it would be a bad choice to sit Haskins for a year and let him get reps, let him see what it's like in NFL practice and things like that, before throwing him into the fire there in Washington. But we'll see what happens with him. He's one of those that I'm on the fence about as to what his career will be. I definitely think he has the potential to be a very solid starting quarterback. He also might not put it together. But I like his game, and I think he has the potential to definitely be a very solid quarterback and something that obviously Washington needed. So, they went best quarterback available, best position of need available. And, at 15, if he turns out to be their starter for the next 10 years and you got him at 15, that's a great place to get your starter for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's a great pick for Washington. So I think they did it right there. They had the need. They had the best player available at their need, and they went and they got their guy. So, or they didn't even have to go anywhere to get them. They just ended up getting them. So, moving to Carolina now.
Yep.
At 16, I think I've been saying it for a while. Cam Newton is your franchise quarterback. He's still your guy.
Yep.
You need to protect him. I know that they did some offseason additions on the interior. They've got Taylor Mott at left tackle, Darrell Williams at right tackle. How much confidence do you have in those two guys? You gave Darrell Williams a prove-it one-year deal at right tackle, and Taylor Mott is up and down at the left tackle slot. Yeah, obviously they've got needs on defense, at corner, at edge rusher, but when your franchise quarterback can't play because he's getting hit too much, I think Carolina has to go offensive line here.
Yeah, I think I could see – this is another one where I could see Byron Murphy going because they need corner help so much. I could see them taking someone like Brian Burns here as well for the edge rushing ability. But I kind of agree with you. I think this is a place where we see one of the offensive linemen go. I'm getting names mixed up in my head. Jonah Williams, that's the one available, right?
Nope. Jonah Williams is the only tackle that is off the board.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
Juwan Taylor, who
Taylor, that's what I was thinking.
highly touted guy out of Florida, is still there. Andre Dillard from Washington State, still there. Greg Little from Ole Miss, still there. And then, guys on the interior, there's, the Garrett I think it's Bradbury or Newberry from NC State, who's arguably one of the better interior guys. Obviously, Lindstrom has already gone. And I'm trying to think if there was – and Dalton Reisner from Kansas State. I think 16 might be rich for him, but, certainly another guy that's out there for them.
I think if it's offensive line, I think they'll go Dillard. I think they were a bit higher on him than they were on Taylor, if I remember correctly. So I think if they're going offensive line, I think they're going Andre Dillard here.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad pick, and I don't think it's a bad place for him to go.
No, I agree with you. I think either choice, honestly, whether it's Dillard or Taylor, I think with Dillard, you're getting a little bit better of a pass protector, and with Taylor, you're getting a little bit better of a run guy. So
Exactly.
Pick is in, Commish is at the podium. So we'll see if we're both wrong or not. Okay, so you had it earlier, Brian Burns.
Okay.
From Florida State. So they went edge rusher.
Yeah, I see the rationale here. Obviously, they need more edge pressure in Carolina. I agree with you though. I still think you need to protect Cam Newton. But they want that defense to be, when they went to the Super Bowl, it was largely in the back of Cam Newton and the defense. So, they clearly see a need there and want to build on the defense. I think Brian Burns is a good player. He's another kind of complete player. He's a plug and play guy right now. I think his ceiling is decent. I think he can be a Pro Bowler in the NFL. Not necessarily Hall of Fame caliber career. I don't really see that from him. I hope for his sake he proves me wrong, but that's kind of not what I see out of him. But I think he can be a very solid, dependable starter for a lot of years. And, he certainly has the chance to get after the quarterback, especially in the right defensive scheme. And I think that Carolina is suited for him. So I think he will be successful there and definitely provides more outside pressure for their defense.
Yeah, I think the only real knock against him is he's really light. He's right under 250 pounds. So, definitely has the speed, the bend, the athleticism that you love in an edge rusher. But is he going to be a guy that you can keep out there for the running downs?
That's the question.
Or is he your pass rush specialist that you invested, the 16th pick in him? You want to see him on the field more. How's he going to hold up against an NFL tackle or an NFL guard? So
yeah, he definitely has room to put some more muscle on his frame, but definitely sort of like Devin Bush, undersized for the position, and that's the one knock on him, and that's kind of the one thing you can't do a whole ton about. So we'll see there, and as you said, struggles against the run, at times. In order to justify this high of a pick, he's got to be a damn good pass rusher if he's a pass rushing specialist.
Mm-hmm. So we're back to the New York Giants picking at 17. This came from Cleveland for getting rid of Odell Beckham Jr.
Right.
So I guess so. Do they go receiver here? Do they try and give the Eli Mannings another weapon in maybe a DK Metcalf or a Hakeem Butler and N'Keal Harry, or do they go pass rush? Obviously, Olivier Vernon's not there anymore. Montez Sweat's still sitting out there on the board as maybe one of the last premier pass rushers that's available right now. The pick is in, so I guess we'll see here soon, but certainly a couple different ways they could go here. Also, I think their offensive line is a right tackle away from being really good. So I think, and there's a lot of nice tackle prospects on the board for him here at 17.
If I had to guess, I'm guessing this is where we see Sweat go. And I think that's going to be the pick. Although, as you said, I think Harry could go here. I think DK could go here as well. I'm going to guess that it's one of that it's either receiver or it's Sweat. And I think with Sweat falling to them, I think that's probably where they go here.
Yeah, I'm going to leave the door open for an offensive lineman here, a right tackle. Still some really good guys on the board here that would complete that line if they're going all in with Eli Manning and then Eli Manning 2.0. The biggest reason they've been struggling outside of Eli Manning not being very good anymore, it was just protection in general. He was sacked a lot. They made the moves, obviously Hernandez last year, paying Nate Solder and then trading for Kevin Zeitler from Cleveland, who was a really good pickup there. A right tackle away from having a pretty solid offensive line. So I'll leave the door open for that. But with Olivier Vernon gone, Montez Sweat being available, certainly a pick that could be made here, or who are they gonna throw the ball to?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And that's the thing. When you look at the Giants' next pick after this, they're going to have to address one of those two areas. If they don't go offensive line here, and they don't go receiver here, I think they have to go offensive line or receiver with their next pick. And then after that, it gets dicey as far as prospects go at those positions. So I could see, to your argument, I could see them going either receiver or offensive line here, and then going receiver or offensive line with their next pick. Because like I said, after that, there are guys out there that could definitely produce, but they become a lot bigger risks.
Yeah. So you're hoping, obviously Daniel Jones isn't going to be a day one starter. So I think if you're the Giants, you want this pick here to be a guy that can contribute right away. You don't want two guys with I guess if they view them with a high ceiling with a la Daniel Jones, good on them. But I think you need a guy to come in and play here. So
absolutely,
we'll kind of see. The pick is in. The commissioner hasn't made his way out onto the stage quite yet, but so we'll kind of, I guess, look ahead really quick, I guess, before the commissioner comes out. So we've got Minnesota and then we've got Tennessee coming up. For me, I think Minnesota goes offensive line.
Yep.
That's kind of what they've been trending towards. And then we'll get to Tennessee in a second because here's the commissioner. It is, man, he's saying a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh, service troops announcing the pick. Oh, okay. So they went defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence from Clemson.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I was thinking that would be some Tennessee would be a guy that Tennessee would be targeting. So off the board for him or for them, but you know, a good player, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I think Sweat gives you the better value. At 17. No, Wilkinson is Dexter Lawrence is definitely a good player. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about this pick?
I think they, certainly they had a lot of needs on defense. I think defensive tackle was, maybe one of them. But I think, to your point, Sweat would have been a better pick in my opinion. As an edge rush guy, and again, shoring up the offensive line to help out Saquon Barkley and Eli Manning. Eli Manning's not very mobile, so he needs that protection where it's been an issue, and you're one guy away from getting there. But I guess that opens the door for, if the draft, however the draft continues to go, if there's a tackle that they still like in the late first with that extra third and fifth round pick, do they come back in and grab their guy?
Yeah, that definitely is a possibility. But yeah, as you said, moving on to Minnesota, I don't see anywhere they go but offensive line here.
Yeah.
This is a place where I would look for someone like Garrett Bradbury, out of NC State. I think he would be a good fit here. Interior lineman. He can play center. He can play guard. They need to protect Kirk Cousins. This is another place where Andre Dillard, might go. Outside of those two guys, I really don't see any other choice here. They might have gone linebacker had Devin White or Devin Bush been available, but obviously neither of those guys are. So here, those are pretty much the only two possibilities I see. Do you see them taking anyone else?
No, I think I'm in alignment here with you. They're trying to help Kirk Cousins out protection wise, like you said, and also Dalvin Cook is a sensational talent. And I think he was able to flash a little bit last year, but their offensive line was pretty inconsistent. So I think they're really going to look to fortify this for both fronts there, offensively. And they've got, you want to kind of do that. You've got a pretty good defense already in place in Minnesota. You're able to keep Anthony Barr away from the Jets. Obviously Kendricks, Harrison Smith, Xavier Rhodes. So you're pretty good on defense, but your offense is very talented, but your offensive line has been the issue. And now it's kind of been that missing piece. So they've committed to saying, I think Pat Eiflin from Ohio State 2 years ago is their center. Newberry projects as a center, but it's going to remain to be seen if he moves to guard. He can play guard. I think he's better at center, but if he can play guard and you can kind of finish molding him there, that's going to help. Or to your point again, one of the tackles. I'm surprised that we're still talking about Jawan Taylor still available here.
Yeah.
So we'll see if the commission's up here for the Vikings pick, the 18th pick here. All right. Yep, there it is. Garrett Bradbury from NC State.
Yep.
So that was a pretty easy one, I think.
Yeah, that that they have clear needs, and he's the best of the center guards available, and like you said, maybe they move him to guard. He can play guard. Maybe he slides in at center, and they move their center to guard position. We'll have to see what exactly their plan is going forward with the offensive line, but they definitely have some more pieces now to play with and try to put together a decent line to protect Cousins.
Yeah. Yep. So just trying to I guess finish out and help protect themselves a little bit. Obviously they're going to have to start dealing with Trey Flowers in Detroit.
Yep.
They're going to have to deal with Khalil Mack and company in Chicago, and then we'll see what Rashawn Gary can put together in Green Bay. So they went the opposite way as the other teams, and they're looking to help protect Cousins. So,
we're getting into it's 19 now with the Titans on the clock, and Montez Sweat is still available. We're getting close. I don't think this high, but we're getting close to an area where if Detroit's going to make a deal to get back into the first round, it's going to be in the next 5 or so picks, I would have to imagine, because I don't see Sweat lasting too much longer. Tennessee, as far as their needs go, they needed they needed defensive tackle. They could also use interior lineman help as well, and an edge rusher. Those would be their needs. So Sweat could go here. I could see like someone like Eric McCoy go here. Where do you think that Tennessee is going to go?
I think if Montez Sweat comes off, the board here.
Okay.
So they've got, obviously Harold Landry from last year is a guy that they're high on, and to just pair another athletic freak with him, Montez Sweat could be that guy. Brian Arakpo, no longer there. Like to your point, they've got a need at that edge spot. You might as well take the last guy that, can make the difference there for you. So we will see. I think it's Sweat here, but to your point, if Sweat is not picked here at 19, I look at 20 with Denver. Drew Lock is still on the board. They definitely don't need a pass rusher in Denver. They've got Bradley Chubb and they've got Von Miller.
Yeah.
So, maybe at 20, we see the first corner come off the board. Seattle would be where you maybe make that phone call. They've got 2 picks. They just traded Frank Clark, so they do have a need at edge rusher, but they've also got a need at cornerback. They've also got a need at safety. I would argue and say they could have a need at wide receiver. Seattle's been kind of wonky with their picks, picking the running back from San Diego State last year and him not really making an impact. So if I'm Detroit, if Sweat makes it past 19, which I'm really not sure he does, I would try and make that first call to Seattle at 21. And welcome back, John.
My phone works better than my computer, apparently.
Oh, John is back.
I clicked something about, like, there's a notification on the Hangouts app when I was on my computer, and I clicked it to try to make it go away, and it literally just, like, shut down my whole Google Hangouts, saying my camera wouldn't load. I couldn't join the call, and I was like, I guess I'll just take a shower, and then I'll just try my phone. And here we are. Phone's working. I can hear both of your beautiful voices talk about the draft.
Here we are.
While you were in the shower, the Lions traded Hawkinson for Josh Allen.
That'd be nice. I feel like just the Jaguars and Lions swapping picks, just wanting to mess with the Lions fans. I feel like that's a good idea. I'm super stoked about that.
No, but we were talking about who the Titans might target at 19. Who do you think, real quick, before the pick's in?
I'm trying to see on the ticker here who went before.
Oh yeah.
Is Montez Sweat still available?
Yeah,
he is.
Probably Sweat.
Yeah, I think that's where Austin and I landed too.
Okay. I kind of think if Sweat goes past 19 and gets like the 24th range, maybe Lions try to trade up.
That's what we were kind of talking about too. Where do we see Detroit wanting to make that move? And I said, if he makes it past 19, you make that first call at 21 because Seattle does have that need with trading Frank Clark. And you could, if you make a good enough deal, Seattle could probably live with taking a safety at 29 and Detroit being able to take their guy if Sweat, is still highly up there for them and if they want to make that move. But, obviously Detroit has a nice history of finding those gems in the middle rounds. This defensive line, this edge rush class is deep. So they could certainly just look to tomorrow in day 2 to find their guy as well. But so we've got the high school football players on the stage. Pick is in for 19. Kamish is at the podium. And so the Titans taking a flyer on Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi State, who tore his ACL before the draft process was able to really take off.
Yeah, I don't hate it and I don't love it. This is a tough one because, as we mentioned earlier, if he plays this year, it will be later in the season. I think he's probably not going to play till next year, but I think he's going to be a really good player when he comes back from injury. So next year, it's almost like the Titans will get 2 first-round draft picks, out of this. But they certainly could use someone that can contribute right away, which is why I don't love it. But I don't think they weren't going to get him in round 2. So if they really loved him and they really wanted him, this was definitely the place they had to go get him. And I guess it just kind of points to that that they didn't have anyone else they loved. And as I said, it's their biggest position of need. So, I think probably that tipped the balance in the scale of taking a flyer and drafting him here.
Yeah. And to your point too, when you're looking at the Tennessee Titans, playoff team, that I think their main issue was Marcus Mariota not being able to stay healthy. So with I guess I don't know if they're showing the Simmons, some sort of video. I don't know. People beating on people, but so yeah, I think it was Tennessee in their mind saying, we were a healthy Mariota away from maybe pushing a little further into the playoffs. So they see a Jeffrey Simmons and they say, okay, this is a top 10 guy. It's a position at need. I think we'll be okay for another year. And then he can come in next year and be that guy in the interior of our defense. So
I think the interesting pick that I saw when when I was gone, obviously, was the Falcons going with the guard out of Boston College.
Yeah, I think we both thought defensive line or tackle. And so they bumped inside to or corner. I know. I think Mark had mentioned something about a corner. So
speaking of corners, has anybody been taken off the board?
Nope.
No.
Wow. Okay. So you still got obviously Greedy. God, what's the guy's name with the great name?
Rock Sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think those are the only 2 that you probably see potentially go in the first round, right? When I know I've seen a couple other guys in the first round mock, but I guess DeAndre Baker's and guys like that. But
so DeAndre
Byron
Baker,
Murphy too,
Byron Murphy, I think he's smaller, but he's probably the best corner in my mind out there.
Yeah.
All around corner for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in regards to locally, Austin, with no corners going so far, how far back do you think Justin Lane drops?
I think you'll see Justin Lane day 2.
Okay.
I think he'll be a day 2 guy. I think there's a little bit of a separation. Well, first off, I'll say the cornerback class, not very good this year.
Right. Agreed.
Obviously intriguing prospects. With Greedy Williams running the way he did, but he was just so inconsistent this year versus 2017, I think a lot of teams were really hesitant to pull the trigger on him. And you'd be surprised at how many teams want a tackling cornerback, and he is not that guy. He will not go in and make the tackle for you. So do we see Greedy Williams fall any further, or does he fall out of the first round? You know, I don't know. I think we see the first cornerback get selected here at 20 with Denver.
I was going to say, especially with Chris Harris kind of
with
making
the
a
Chris
comments he
Harris
made.
situation
I was just
going
about
on.
to ask you that.
But yeah, so I think Justin Lane will go day 2. I think David Long from Michigan, another guy that could go late day 2. But I would say there's 4 cornerbacks that have a chance of being taken in the first round here. And that would be Murphy, Baker, Greedy Williams, and Rocky Ya-Sin.
Yeah.
I think one more that could potentially sneak into the first round is I'm not even going to try and say his name, but out of Penn State.
Yep.
Good length and size there. I know Kansas City has a type of corner they like, and I think Greedy Williams fits that profile. I think Rocky Ya-Sin fits that profile, and I think the Penn State corner fits that profile.
Yeah, I think here at 20 with Denver on the clock now.
Pick is in.
Oh, okay. I'm definitely thinking corner. I agree. I think this could be like a curveball. I think Rock Ya-Sin might end up being the first corner off the board. Corner is always so hard to predict, coming out of college into the NFL. It's probably the one of the bigger positions of adjustment. And I think I don't know. I just have a feeling Rock Ya-Sin is going to be the pick here for Denver.
A little more funny stuff from Twitter. Eric Ebron quoted Dan Orlowski tweeting, "Love the Hawk pick," and then Eric Ebron quoted it with 2 crying laughing emojis.
Man, that guy must have high blood pressure for as salty as he is.
Yeah, he's been, anytime he has a chance to tweet about the Lions, he does. And then Orlowski's like the complete opposite. Anything the Lions do, he's just all about.
Oh man.
So we think corner here at 20 with Denver. Montez Sweat still available. Is Detroit phoning Seattle right now and asking about coming up to maybe get Sweat?
That's why I'm on Twitter trying to find any hints of something happening.
So,
and what would it take to move from the second round up to 21, especially as you said, Austin? Seattle, with Frank Clark gone, Seattle has this need. So, obviously they'd be happy to draft Sweat. What would it take for the Lions to move into this spot?
Oh, so hold on. Oh, okay. Before we get there, Noah Fant going to Denver.
Interesting.
Okay.
Somebody in the MSE chat actually predicted this about 5 minutes ago. They said, is there any you think there's any possibility that they were pissed that the Lions picked Hawkinson at 8, and part of the reason they made the deal to move back was to take Fant?
Oh, because maybe Hawkinson was the guy on their board.
Yeah.
That they wanted. But again, I mean, if you're Denver, would have Hawkinson if the Lions don't take Hawkinson at 8, does he last past Buffalo at 9? Obviously They took Ed Oliver, but they were really high on Hawkinson as well. So interesting. Giving Joe Flacco a weapon, and it's funny that this happened because I think I was reading something earlier today about how Joe Flacco is so reliant on his tight ends. They're a safety blanket for him. He locks in on the tight end in his certain situations. So when you look at the tight ends for Denver, unfortunately, I don't think Jake Butt's returned to his Michigan form since his injury, which is tough because he was a great tight end prospect.
Yeah.
They got Jeff, I think Huerman, who's okay, but Noah Fant is definitely going to give Joe Flacco that nice down the field, middle of the field target to kind of complement Emmanuel Sanders in the slot and Cortland Sutton.
I also
outside.
wonder if there's the last time, if ever, that 2 tight ends out of the same college were drafted in the first round.
That is a good question, and I think no one will ever pass Iowa as tight end U.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, they've produced a lot of Pro Bowl tight ends in the past few years.
Yes, yes, they have. So I guess if you're a high school recruit that plays tight end, I would go to Iowa because you're probably going to you got a good chance going to the NFL.
Yep. So now, what do you think Quinn and the Lions are thinking at this point? We mentioned 21 is a good spot if you want to trade up to get Sweat, depending on what that takes. Do they? Some of the higher, basically all the rest of the higher end edge rush prospects are kind of gone, and then after this, you move to the second tier. Does Quinn have faith in his ability to pick out the one in the second tier that's going to end up being a solid starter, or are they content to wait into the second round and get one of the cornerback prospects that will probably be there, whether it's Greedy, Rock Yassin, Byron Murphy, or one of those guys?
Yeah, I think just knowing how Bob Quinn has seemed to be, I don't see them really making a move to get back in the first round as much as I would love them trading up to get Sweat. I think kind of what you said about the corners is where I was going with. Oh, Seahawks trade the pick to the Packers. Damn.
Huh.
So we'll see what the Packers do. But I think you nailed it on the head with all the cornerback prospects that are still going to be there when the Lions pick around 8, pairing a guy with Darius Slay. Obviously, Nevin Lawson being gone, thank God. And you signed, God, what's it? How am I forgetting the guy? Justin Coleman. But he's going to be playing in the slot mostly. I think you want to get a guy who can be outside with Darius Slay, and I think there's going to be plenty of guys still at the 8th pick in the second round, unless there's just like a domino effect here of corners coming up. I just don't see that happening. So I think it's just going to be interesting to see what they do and how they do it. I guess if Sweat falls to like 28 to 30 range, you might hear some talks, but I just don't see them making a move.
Do you think that Green Bay, made this trade to get Sweat? They
that'd be really interesting. I mean, last year they picked up Alexander, and who else did they pick?
They picked Jair Alexander, and they got Josh Jackson from Iowa, the other cornerback. So they got the 2 corners.
And then this year you go out and get Rashawn Gary and Montez Sweat. I feel like that's a pretty good back-to-back years of drafting. I honestly don't know what. I mean, I don't see what else. Also, do you know what else they would be going for?
I really don't. At 29, I think is where they were, or 30. Excuse me, they were at 30. Looking at what they would need, again, offensive tackle is something that comes to mind. They're still really good guy. The fact that Juwan Taylor is still available here at pick 21, that I would say is worth it's coming up for. I still think at 29 you were okay if you wanted a safety. Safeties have come off the board. I think you're set at cornerback. I don't know if you would double dip with Rashawn Gary and Montez Sweat. Certainly never hurts to have a lot of edge rush talent, but did they believe the wide receiver that they really want with retooling their offense here, obviously with how disappointing they've been over the past couple years. Do they think with Baltimore picking at 22 is that DK Metcalf that I can't even imagine what Aaron Rodgers would turn DK Metcalf into.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
point.
And with Baltimore sitting at 22, knowing they need a receiver, did they come up to go get him? I mean, I don't know. But, certainly I don't know if it's Montez Sweat, just because I think they can add something here outside of their pass rush. They invested in free agency. They invested the 12th pick in the draft on a pass rusher. I think they came up for something else. What that is, I am just not sure. But I do not think it's Montez Sweat.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think DK could be a pick here. Safety wise, obviously they haven't needed safety. Safety wise, Jonathan Abram, I guess, might go before they would have picked. But I mean, other than that, you've got Jawan Thornhill. You've got Savage. Those guys would definitely be there to make this move, to move up. I think like you said. I think it's got to be somebody like DK, or maybe Taylor, Jawan Taylor out of Florida. Where they think those guys are going to be gone by the time they pick at 30. Those are really the only two that I could think of that they would want to make this move for.
Yep, and Commissioner is wow. So I guess they didn't think that their safety would be.
Yeah, wow. So they go with Darnell Savage.
So they went Darnell Savage Jr., who I love. I absolutely love
like
Darnell Savage
a lot.
Jr. Pairing him with Adrian Amos, the former Chicago Bear. So they've got two guys on the back end now that are very rangy and can make plays. But I beg the question. I love Darnell Savage Jr. I think he's an excellent safety prospect.
Mm-hmm.
I think at 30, you still could have gotten, Jawan Thornhill, another excellent safety prospect.
Yeah.
Jonathan Abrams, not necessarily the rangy guy that Savage and Thornhill are, but still a good prospect. Nazir Addersley from Delaware is a rangy guy. So interesting.
Ooh, Ravens traded their pick to the Eagles.
And I'm very curious if the Eagles came up here to get Marquise Brown. That's my guess. That's my guess right here.
That's my guess as well. I totally agree with that. As far as the safeties go, I guess, Seattle could use a safety. And I think the Colts, probably are in the market for a safety. I don't see of the teams between them, between Seattle and Green Bay, where Green Bay picked, I don't see many other teams with a huge need at safety. So I guess maybe they thought that they had two guys they liked, whether it was Savage and Abram, or Savage and Thornhill, and they thought that both those guys would probably be gone, and they weren't in the market for any of the other safeties. Maybe that was their thought process there, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not. If Darnell Savage was their guy, they came up and got him. But I honestly think at 30, looking at the teams that are still in need to pick, not a lot of them would have gone for safety outside of Seattle, who would have picked right in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
But they traded up, and so now Seattle's got, I would believe, 29 and 30.
Yep.
I'm curious to see if they continue to trade back to acquire some more picks in what would be a deep draft in their case, seeing some corners, some safeties, and those day two edge rushers available. Curious to see maybe a Chase Winovich from Michigan go right at the tail end of the first round. So, I guess that remains to be seen. But again, don't hate the trade up from the Packers, but I think they could have waited.
Yeah, I agree.
Eric Ebron continuing his trolling. Quandre Diggs tweeted, "I know who I want us to draft," and Eric Ebron then asked him, "Did you get him?" with the crying, laughing emoji face.
Jeez.
Oh
So
man.
Eric Ebron's still a little obsessed with Detroit, it seems.
So now with the Eagles moving up, yeah, I think I think we're all in agreement it's probably probably Marquise Brown.
I couldn't. Yeah, I think Austin nailed it there with that.
Yeah, that's the guy. I mean, that's the guy they really like. I don't know exactly how much they gave up, but they only had to move up 3 spots to do it. Maybe they I don't know. This is the place where everyone kind of gets nervous.
Yeah.
All the GMs. Yeah, the Ravens. The Ravens is probably the team, or not the Ravens. The trying to think who would they think would draft a receiver before them?
Oakland
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
24. Oakland's got 24 and 27.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Eagles
that's
were
the
sitting
one.
at 25. I think that maybe they feared Marquise Brown. It would have been kind of funny, actually, Antonio Brown and Marquise Brown together. They're related in Oakland. And definitely, I mean, electric. It would have been fun to watch. But, yeah, I think the pick's in for the Eagles. I think it's Marquise Brown. I don't know who else they would have come up for. Obviously with the rumors of shopping Nelson Aguilar coming out there, they've got Alshon Jeffrey, so they don't really need a DK Metcalf.
Mhm.
But I guess we will find out here. The commissioner's up at the podium now. Oh, okay. So they came up to get Andre Dillard, who I would then guess he is going to be the heir to the left tackle spot of Jason Peters, or they move Lane Johnson to the left side and he takes his natural right tackle position. So,
Interesting,
again,
though, I think.
At 25, I look at Houston and I say, yes, they're going to pick somebody. Their offensive line. 24, Oakland, I don't know if they would take an off. They've got so many needs elsewhere. I don't know if Oakland would take offensive line at 24. So you're sitting at 25. You've got, either Juwan Taylor or Andre Dillard would come off the board at 23.
Yep.
You would think with Houston. You could have probably waited unless they were so fearful that, obviously Oakland is a clear wild card in this draft, taking Clellan Ferrell over Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was the fear, but again, another scenario, looking at how things have been falling recently, I think they would have been okay at 25 getting Andre Dillard or Juwan Taylor. So I'm a little surprised by this one.
I think it's kind of a little happy feet from the general managers that results in this, and maybe they didn't have to give up too much, to make this move. Obviously, they don't move up that far to do it. So I guess that might be the case. Obviously, as you said, Houston's on the clock now. Houston is absolutely going to take an offensive lineman. They desperately need it. I would think this might be the spot for Taylor.
I agree with you. I just read something from Ian Rappaport about the Texans wanting Andre Dillard. That was going to be the pick. So the Ravens must have wanted Dillard bad enough and maybe valued him over Juwan Taylor to move up and take him in front of Houston. So again, I'm a little surprised that we're talking about Juwan Taylor at pick 23 being available here.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I saw some, Cody Ford obviously is another great pick here. I think Cody Ford can play guard or tackle. So does Houston go with the flexibility, or does Houston kind of go with the power guy in Taylor? And Taylor would be a tackle, I think, versus Ford could be either. But yeah, I don't think there's a question. Houston has to take an offensive lineman. They have to protect Deshaun Watson. He's proven he can be a franchise quarterback when he's healthy, when he's upright. And the poor guy's been running for his life ever since he's gotten to Houston. So, yeah, I think offensive linemen, unless it's taking a little bit of time because there hasn't been an exact rush, and Dillard just got picked in front of them. Are they fielding calls to come up? Nope, no, they're not. The pick is in, so let's forget that one. So interestingly enough, so we've got what we think is an offensive lineman here. Oh man, there's DeAndre Hopkins tearing up the Cowboys. That's nice. So we've got offensive line we're thinking here at 23. You've got Oakland, who has a huge shopping list. Maybe we see the first corner come off the board at 24. Maybe we see a wide receiver come off the board. Montez Sweat, where is he going to go? I mean, I don't think he goes to Houston. I don't know if he's going to go to Oakland. But I think the Raiders would have done pretty well if they get Farrell and Sweat. But
right.
I think they've got other needs that they can get address at 24 and 27. Baltimore could be a place that Sweat could go. Obviously, they were Baltimore's willing to trade back a little bit because they came up to get Lamar Jackson last year, and they still need a wide receiver. But edge rusher is something that Baltimore needs.
Seeing how Sweat keeps falling, that almost makes me wish the Lions traded back.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think that just speaks to
seeing how things are turning out.
I think that just speaks to how much the league in itself valued Hawkinson, with the Lions taking him at 8. So the Bills are happy at 9. They take, Ed Oliver, and then the Broncos are mad, so they trade back 10 spots, and then take Noah Fant. So here's the commish, pick 23 for the Texans, which we all think is offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So we were correct.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I know Titus Howard
Alabama State
was impressive at the Senior Bowl. Again, I'm scratching my head if something late came out on Juwan Taylor to make him fall kind of to this area.
Yeah.
Certainly impressed with Titus Howard and seeing his film at the Senior Bowl, but not someone I don't think anyone really expected him to go in the first round. So I'm a little surprised at this pick. Not that it's offensive line, but at the player itself.
The player.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be a fine player, but I think there are better prospects on the board right now.
I agree.
They've just, like you said, he had a really good Senior Bowl. They must really love him. I wonder if some of the problem with Taylor is weight concerns. I know that some of the GMs had concerns about his weight, and some of the penalties that that he amassed over the past couple of years, things like that. I still think he's going to be a really good player, and a lot of that's just coaching and conditioning. But I don't know. I feel like I don't know exactly why he's falling, unless, like you said, something came out late that we haven't heard about, an injury concern or something like that.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm not sure, and we'll kind of see. But with pick 24 now, do we again revisit the first cornerback coming off the board?
It's certainly a place they could go. They have Oakland. I know likes Josh Jacobs a lot out of Alabama.
Ooh, glad you brought that up.
They obviously they have somewhat of a need at tight end. Obviously, they're not going to go with Fant and Hawkinson off the board. They're not going to go tight end this high anymore. So they'll have to reassess there. A safety possibly a concern here as well, but they've got 2 picks. Here coming up. I really kind of think they're going to tend towards Josh Jacobs with this pick. I know Gruden likes to run the ball, control the clock, kind of thing. That's kind of where I see them going. Where do you guys think they're going to go here?
I think this is greedy right here.
Okay.
But I do love your Josh Jacobs pick. I can definitely see that happening as well.
Yeah, I think Josh Jacobs, if you really, really wanted him, I don't think there's anybody between 24 and 27 that's going to take him.
That's a good point.
So you could probably wait to 27 versus at 24, so you've got the Ravens picking at 25 and then
Colts.
The Colts at 26, who the Colts could use a corner. I don't know if the Ravens would take a corner. Obviously, Marlon Humphrey, very good. Brandon Carr is getting up there in age. So, they like a corner. They have a need at linebacker, but there's not any good linebackers right now. And the Ravens might take Montez Sweat at 25 as he continues his fall.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something about Colton Miller, the pick that was made last year that I did not like for the Raiders. I think he's got bad knees, and I think he said that they won't ever be the same. So do the Raiders look at their offensive line that was once really good, but aging, now it's kind of fallen apart a little bit. They've retooled. Do they take, again, looking at Juwan Taylor, did they expect him to be here? I think cornerback comes off the board. They need somebody to pair with Garen Conley, who's finally come into his own after some injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could do a safety here because Carl Joseph hasn't really panned out for them on the back end. And then I think it was Reggie Nelson at one point. I don't even know who played. It was Obi Melifuanu that they waived. So they drafted him last year in the second round. So safety, obviously seeing Savage come off the board.
Pick is in.
They could go safety, go corner. I think it's defense here. And if they really like Jacobs, I think they could go Jacobs at 27.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a corner come off the board here. And my guess, that I think either from other, especially like the early, like the ones that are first round projected. But I think it's a corner that's going to come off here.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. And Greedy Williams is, I think, exactly the type of player that Gruden and Oakland would want to take here. So if it's a corner, I think it's probably Greedy.
Well, I would not shy away from Rock Ya-Sin. I know Gruden is adamant that his corners have to tackle.
That's true.
Guess who doesn't tackle?
Yep. Yeah,
Greedy Williams. Guess who will get his nose in there? Rock Ya-Sin.
Yeah.
So I would say Rock Ya-Sin over Greedy Williams here, just because knowing the Gruden thing. But maybe they take a flyer. Maybe they coach him up a little bit. I don't know. But I guess we will find out here because here's the commish. So the Raiders. Oh, Mark, you were absolutely correct. Josh Jacobs
I had a
Wow,
feeling.
good call,
off
Mark.
the board at the 24.
Yeah,
So
I
I
had a
guess my
feeling
question is
Gruden
now-
doesn't always make the best decisions.
I guess my question is now, where does Montez Sweat go, and what kind of corners are going to be left in the round 2 if they don't trade up?
So Montez Sweat could go at 25. Definitely a possibility, or we could maybe see DK Metcalf go at 25 here. I think we keep saying the first corner could come off the board. 26, Indy could definitely use a corner. Oakland could still use a corner, and because there hasn't been a run at them, they could still probably get their guy with a lot of pretty good prospects left on the board. If Montez Sweat doesn't go at 25 or 26, then I'm not really sure. I know that
He falls out of the first round, then, doesn't he?
he unless someone comes up to get him, or if the Patriots take him at 32.
Okay,
Yeah.
if he does fall out of the first round, and you're the Lions come day 2, I mean, all right, you have him on the phone, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think they'd pick up the phone. If Sweat's available with the first pick in the second round, I would think that they
Yeah, I
would
mean-
they'd make a call.
What realistically would you have to give up other than obviously the second round pick? I mean, what else do you think you're looking at, Austin?
To move up from
8 to 1 in the second round.
obviously with the 8th pick in the second round, I don't think you would have to really give up your third. It depends on what you have in the middle and late rounds. You could probably pair that second with maybe a 4th and a 5th and move up. So, or you could maybe just do a 4th and move up. So
I would love that so much.
you could probably pretty easily do that, but with how everything's going, I mean, at this point, I'm questioning whether or not the Lions would want to, especially with all these corners falling down and needing to pair Darius Slay with somebody.
At this point, I think I'm almost more content with corner idea than bringing from Montez. I feel like I don't know if I'm in the minority here with it, but I'm just like, I think that's for number 2 guy at corner. Like I really, it's a huge hole.
Yeah, no wide receivers have come off the board either.
Yeah. I think it's just there's no. I mean, outside of DK Metcalf, no one really jumped out. I think as an elite talent, there's no really good natural separators in this class like we've seen, like Calvin Ridley last year, very good at separating naturally, and some other wide receivers. Marquise Brown still out there. I know a lot of teams like him. Would he come off before DK, or does everyone fall to the second round? I'm still not sure at this point, but it's very interesting to see what Baltimore does here at 25. Is it Sweat? Is it DK? Is it Marquise Brown? It's definitely a couple of different ways they could go here.
Yeah, Baltimore. Yeah, I mean they could go offensive line too. They need more interior help though. I don't know.
I think it's been an interesting first round tonight, to say the least.
Oh, yes. For sure.
I definitely agree. They must be deliberating, or I don't know if they would.
I think Indy for sure goes secondary, right?
Yeah.
That, or if Sweat's still there, I think they would take Sweat. Unless he's one of the, they were one of the teams that took him off his board. But I saw a lot of stuff with Jeffrey Simmons going to Indy and basically taking a flyer on an injured guy. with Montez Sweat, everybody already knew about this heart condition.
Right.
I don't know why it's, such a big deal. He was cleared at the combine. He was cleared to, to play. He was cleared with medical teams. I don't know. So I think Indy could do secondary or corner or safety. We're right around this range now for some of the safeties, the other safeties to come off the board here.
It would be interesting if Montez Sweat did find his way somehow back to Michigan after getting kicked off the Michigan State team years back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I salivate thinking or fantasizing about him and Kenny Willekes on the same team.
This is this Ravens pick, I think, is one of the most interesting picks of the night because there's a lot of different ways they could go.
I honestly have no clue. Like I can't I can't decide on where I think they're going with this.
I mean, I don't think they'll take Taylor because their offensive line needs are more on the interior than tackle. They could go secondary. They could go they might take a receiver here too. This might be the place we see Marquez Brown go.
I think you're going to see receiver or Sweat, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think they might take Marquise Brown here. I guess that if I had to nail it down to one, that's what I would say.
Where does Metcalf go?
Boy, I don't know. Talk about a freak prospect that, certainly not the greatest separator, but he doesn't really have to be.
Right.
He's so big and strong and fast that you can just send him on 9 routes all day and just throw the ball up to him.
I think the Patriots might take a receiver as well, but I don't think it would be DK. I think it would be more in the neighborhood of a, maybe N'Keal Harry or a Paris Campbell or something like that.
Oh boy. That's the last thing the league needs is Tom Brady with another Randy Moss deep threat.
Right.
Just throw him 20 touchdowns or whatever.
Yeah, N'Keal Harry was not fond of him in week 2 of the college football season this year.
All right. Ravens pick is in. Kamish is at the podium, and they select Marquise Brown.
Okay.
Good call, Mark.
So the first wide receiver off the board.
First wide receiver off the board, and it's not DK Metcalf.
I do think Marquise Brown will have a good career. I think he's an interesting prospect. DK's got some work to do, I think, but I think he's definitely got a higher ceiling than Marquise Brown. But Marquise Brown reminds me a little of Deshaun Jackson a little bit.
Yes.
I think he kind of fits in the Baltimore offensive philosophy. So it makes sense to me that they went Brown here over DK or some of the other receivers.
Yeah. Yep, I agree with you. Obviously Lamar Jackson, I think he can be a productive passer in the NFL. I think Baltimore did, I would say, an okay job kind of limiting him and, not throwing him straight into the fire, so to speak. But, yeah, I think when it comes to a need for separation and a need for a guy to be able to get himself open for Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown can definitely do that over DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm. So the Colts now, like we've all said, and I think the secondary is their biggest need. And I think that's where they'll go. Whether they go safety or corner, I'm not sure. I almost lean more towards safety, probably. Maybe I don't know, a guy like Abram might fit the mold of kind of what they're trying to do. He's a good cover guy that can jump in and help stop the run too.
Yes, he is definitely with Malik Hooker over the top as your free safety. Abrams could be your box thumper. He's
Mhm.
definitely good for that. But it looks like the Redskins are back.
Oh wow.
Wow. Yeah, I
The
see
Colts
that.
traded
What
traded out of the first.
initial thoughts on it?
Wide
What?
receiver, maybe
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe DK for
for Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins.
Yep, that's I think that's probably you see GMs like to do this sometimes, especially if it doesn't cost too much money. They get a new quarterback and they want to get him a new, shiny toy right away. So yeah, if I had to guess, I would guess that they'd go DK.
It's kind of interesting if you think about it. The Colts, I mean, obviously a young and talented team, had a lot of cap space, decided not to use too much of it, which isn't, not smart. And then they trade their first round pick.
Yeah. And I guess because they do have that high second round pick from the Jets,
sure.
so maybe they're
I mean, there's
like some other
definitely
teams looking at the corners falling.
depending on what they get. I mean, like you said, they have the early second round pick. It's just kind of funny. I mean, they had all the, which it could be a good thing for them. I mean, you don't want to splurge in free agency and just sign guys just because you can. And obviously, if the guy they love or the two guys they love in the draft they still think is going to be there in the early in the second round, it's just crazy to me that you have a team with that much cap and you have a first round pick and you trade it away. But I mean, it could be the smart move from Chris Ballard.
Yes, he has definitely turned that franchise around from the
100%.
Grigson era that destroyed that team.
If you're a Colts fan listening, I wouldn't really be too upset with it. I would put all my trust into Ballard as of right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So now the Colts will have. Are they going to have 3 second round picks now?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so they, like you said, with the safety, only one safety's come off the board, but obviously, this and then the second round are areas where the safeties are going to come off. But with the cornerbacks falling, they might be able to get some help for their defense. I could see them going almost all defense in the second round.
Yeah.
And it almost curious of with Washington, if it's not DK, is it Montez Sweat? Because I think they lost Preston Smith.
Oh yeah,
off the edge, and Trent Murphy's gone as well. They still have Ryan Kerrigan, boiler up. But obviously on the interior line is Team Alabama with Payne and
Jonathan
Allen. So or did Washington come back up for a cornerback? Where they're sitting in the second round. Will the cornerbacks be gone by then? They've got Josh Norman, who's he's not Carolina Josh Norman. They've got I think they've got they traded Kendall Fuller to Kansas City, so he's not there anymore. They got one of the guys from Washington, Foster. Not Foster Moreau, but Fabian Monroe.
Fabian Monroe, Monroe.
Who I think so he played. He wasn't the one that was hurt. So
their secondary isn't much to talk about.
I
think what we're getting at.
Yeah, exactly. So they got Landon Collins. They got Clinton Dix. So their safety
corner-wise, though,
probably okay. I think they still have Clinton Dix, but
I'm pretty sure they do.
So corner question mark. Do they replace the edge rusher? They came back up for Sweat, or for Dwayne Haskins, their new franchise quarterback. Who can he throw to? That's a serious question. I don't even know the Josh Dotson.
Right. That's why I think you got to take a chance on DK here with how freaky he is athletic wise. I mean,
just to compliment you've got a pretty strong offensive line. You're getting Darius Juice back from his ACL injury.
I don't think whatever corner they take in this, if they would take here, whether it be Greedy, or any of the other guys, I don't think he's going to impact the defense enough to really make an impact. As obviously as simple as I just made that sound, I think a guy like DK, if he pans out, you've solidified your big three weapons on offense almost with a good offensive line and Dwayne Haskins, Darius Geis, and DK Metcalf possibly, and then obviously if Jordan Reed can stay healthy.
Yeah.
The
The pick
Colts
is
got
in.
the Colts got the second round pick this year, and they got a 2020 second round pick.
Wow.
Interesting.
So kind of an idea if there's any hope out there for the Lions wanting to come back up.
Yeah.
Would they be okay with giving up 2 second-round picks to get back into the late first?
Personally, I'm kind of more content with sitting and waiting until 8 and getting a corner than trading your second this year and your second next year for Montez Sweat.
Yep.
I think as of right now, I think with it's your D line as it stands right now, Trey Flowers, Snacks, and Deshaun Hand. I'm good with that. And then I'm content with, Kennard, I think, surprised a lot of people last year with how much he produced. And Romeo Okwara, I think, is going to continue to surprise more people. So I think the Lions are kind of not good on edge rushers in the front seven, but I think they're okay with it, more so as where I think corner is a bigger weakness.
All right, so the Redskins came up for Montez Sweat. So
wow, okay.
They get the edge rusher. That is a pretty tough front four.
Yeah.
In Washington, Montez Sweat, Thron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Ryan Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. Thank goodness that the Cowboys have a good offensive line.
Yeah, I think I think it's a good pick. They saw a need, they saw him falling, and they didn't have to give up too much to
right.
to get it done. So I think definitely a good move for Washington. And now now as Lions fans, we I think basically we look for they need receiver and they need corner as far as obviously they need another edge rusher too, but given what's probably going to be available to them, I think that's probably where they're going to look in round 2 is cornerback or receiver.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a real interesting situation of somehow. Because what receivers are we looking at probably being there, though? Is my question. I guess I would have. I don't think there's any way Metcalf makes it to there, right?
I'm trying to think who.
But I guess I also don't know who's in front that needs a receiver.
Right. That's what I'm trying to think of. Who would go receiver in front of them with the 8th pick? I think it's probably more likely since they went tight end with
right.
With the 8th pick, that's probably more likely they go corner.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just imagining like if Metcalf did pan out, Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay, and DK Metcalf.
Right.
That's a tall receiving core right there.
Jeez.
Yeah, they definitely be all in giving Matthew Stafford everything that they think he needs.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, you got a bunch of guys who can go deep, and then T.J. Hawkinson is your red zone guy, and then Jesse James isn't the small guy either. I think he's 6'7".
Yeah.
Jeez.
How tall is Metcalf?
Maybe
6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, I was gonna say 6'4" at his shortest.
Galladay's 6'4". I'm thinking Marvin's 6'2", 6'3". So you'd have Metcalf would definitely be the most athletic guy out of the three, but man,
6'4", yeah.
So if you're Oakland at 27 now, so you've got needs at safety, you've got needs at corner, you've got needs at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess the argument can be had Well, I don't even know who they have outside of Antonio Brown in Oakland. To be honest, they got Martavius Bryant. Is he still there? Well, the pick is in, so the Raiders knew who they wanted.
Martavis. What happened to Martavis?
I thought he got.
Yeah, he is on the Raiders still technically.
I think this is probably receiver or defensive back.
You think they go Metcalf?
They might.
So you would have Antonio Brown, Josh Jacobs, and DK Metcalf. I mean,
or maybe they shock the world and go Drew Lock.
Oh my gosh! How to not draft with 3 first-round picks by John Gruden featuring.
Well, that's the thing is Gruden always wants to prove to everyone that he's the smartest guy in the room by going completely outside the box. So, and he's definitely done that so far in this first round.
I'm still like fucking what do you call it? The kid from Duke, the quarterback. I still can't believe he went at 6.
Oh, Daniel Jones.
Oh yeah,
yeah, Daniel Jones.
I think he would have been there at 17.
I did too.
I really think no one was going to get him. But well, if you like Eli Manning and you really wanted Eli Manning reincarnated, then you go for it.
Do you think is that the biggest shock to you of the draft so far, Austin?
I would probably say so. I knew that they really liked Daniel Jones, but I figured at 6 with the talent that was still available that they would wait.
Yeah.
But alas, I was wrong, and I'm okay with that because that means the Giants are just idiots in my mind. So the Raiders pick is in.
Wow, okay.
Mark, you're right.
Interesting.
They went defensive back. Jonathan Abram from Mississippi State.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that much.
So the Chargers, I guess, are a question mark for me on what they want to do.
Maybe they go Juwan Taylor.
That's what I was just about to say. They certainly have a need at tackle. I think I saw something medically related on Taylor. Not specific what it was, but that might be a reason he's falling. Kind of like Montez Sweat. So, but yeah, I think the Chargers would really get a steal here at 28 to grab Juwan Taylor. So I guess we'll kind of see, because outside of that, I really, that roster is really well put together at this point. Really good. The front line, I would say they're pretty set in the secondary. I guess they could go safety and pair someone with Derwin James. But I think offensive line, Phillip Rivers is your guy. Give him some protection. Help Melvin Gordon, get some running. Oh my goodness! I just watched Jonathan Abrams kill a man.
I think it has to be offensive line here. The only other thing that I could think is, they have Casey Hayward, maybe somebody to put on the other side of him. That's the only thing outside of offensive line that I could think of. But I think, as you said, I think their secondary is fine the way it is, and their biggest need is obviously offensive line.
Yeah.
I really think it's got to be Juwan Taylor.
I'm interested to see what Seattle does back-to-back picks.
Yeah.
I don't know if they keep them both. I think they might trade back one of them. I would think. I don't know who would want to come up, but does someone come up for a corner that's late in the second round? I don't know if my Cowboys would think about maybe coming up and taking a safety. They're really high on Juwan Thornhill, who I would absolutely love to pair him with Xavier Woods. I'm trying to think of who else might want to come up from the second round. I know the Saints have like the second-round pick, and then they don't pick again until the 5th, so they're probably not coming up.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe they do keep the 2.
One possibility I could think of is maybe the Falcons. The Falcons might feel like, the corners that they want might be gone by the time they pick again. Maybe they'd try to move up to one of those Seattle picks. I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of trade partners outside of that. But if I was Seattle picking back to back, I would certainly try to move one of them.
Yeah, I don't think Seattle wants to have these 2 picks. I think they do want to continue to trade back, but I think they could certainly. They have a need at corner and at safety. I would say edge rush has been pushed back down to day 2.
Yep.
And I'm also kind of looking at wide receiver a little bit here, and
N'Keal Harry.
Would that be something that they'd be interested in having at those late picks? That'd be a pretty good value, I would think. Doug Baldwin's been hurt a lot.
Yep.
They've got Tyler Lockett, who I think is a great slot guy. They don't really have another outside threat that I can at least think of, to be honest. So, they just signed Russell Wilson to that big extension.
Emphasize the big.
Or if Juwan Taylor somehow makes it past the Chargers here, Seattle pick him. They're still, I would say, a work in progress on the offensive line.
Yeah,
and they could certainly use his talent. So the Chargers pick is in. I think we're all consensus Juwan Taylor.
Yeah.
Certainly there is other options, but I think it's the best fit.
I think there's other options. I just don't see it being any other options, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the one that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. So did we lose Dustin because of the Hawkinson pick? I forgot to ask
that. No, I think he went to do some work on the site.
Gotcha.
Although he did kind of just drop out and didn't say anything to me. The Lions picked and he was just gone.
Yeah, I wanted the suspense of it. That's why I stepped away from it. And I was just like, well, I didn't hate it as much as I originally thought I would, but I think the Lions were more so in need of an immediate impact player, as in I think Hawkinson and tight ends take a little bit to develop.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
I think
Lions.
I think he's definitely going to help their passing game. Obviously,
I think it helps their red zone issues if he pans out.
Yep.
It's funny. I've never seen a team struggle so much at the 1 yard line than the Lions.
I know.
Even with LeGarrette Blount, it was weird. It's weird to watch.
I think, like you said, I think they're going more to a Seattle type offensive mold. They're going to want to run the ball.
Yep.
Kerryon Johnson, they're going to want to do that a lot, and having Hawkinson on the field, they can run or pass with him.
Yeah, and I really like the C.J. Anderson signing. I think it's an underrated signing in the offseason.
Yep.
So I totally forgot about Cody Ford being on the board still too.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
That would be another pretty solid pick for them. And Eric McCoy on the interior. I don't, with one of the Pouncey brothers obviously playing center there. Well, I guess they've got Boris Lamp and Dan. Was it Feeney?
Yeah, Dan Feeney
at guard. So. The pick is in. Here comes the commissioner. Is it a tackle? Is it a corner? We are about to find out.
I'm sticking with my gut here on Juwan Taylor.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick there too. And we're both wrong.
Wow.
Jerry Tillery, defensive tackle Notre Dame, which... You know what? I I completely
I
forgot
guess,
about
yeah.
him. A good interior defensive lineman, and that's what the Chargers actually needed. So
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
that's a good pick.
Yeah, I don't hate it. You know, the defense
Loving the shirts they got going on there.
the defense you know, has helped carry them and you know, I mean obviously you know, their offense you know, still is firing on all cylinders. But their defense getting better is what's made the difference
Yes.
in Los Angeles. So I almost said San Diego again. But yeah, that's what's made the difference for them. You know, getting to the playoffs and being able to make some noise there. And interior line was a big need for them. So yeah, I like this pick. Underrated. I didn't think he was going to go first round. But he certainly wouldn't be there in the second round when Los Angeles picks again. So you know, they obviously they liked him a lot, and they came up to get him. Yeah, that Jawan Taylor injury story. I mean, that like Jawan Taylor, I think is the story right now. You know, where he's falling.
Seattle. I mean, I think. I mean, I guess last year. I mean, Austin goes. We had another show that I was part of. That we did a live show, and Austin came on and was a guest on. We were all like all in on Seattle going O-line, and all of a sudden they came out with the Rashad Penny pick.
Yeah.
I feel like this is. I mean, they can redeem themselves right here and getting Juwan Taylor, depending on what that medical issue is.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't trade out of one of these two picks, I feel like you almost have to go with Juwan Taylor or maybe Ford.
Yeah, this might be a situation where the way it's fallen to them, they just stay where they are and they take you know, they go Cody Ford or Juwan Taylor, and then they go you know, they take safety. They take someone like Adderley or you know, Juwan Thornhill or somebody like that.
Also, was it was it Chandler Gardner Johnson from Florida?
Yeah.
Another pick that I saw mocked to them a lot at 21. So trading back a little bit and, you know, having 29 and 30, maybe getting an offensive lineman, and then the safety that you like that kind of, you know, obviously isn't Earl Thomas, but can remind you of Earl Thomas a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, maybe getting those two guys there, I don't know. But I think with the way Juwan Taylor has fallen and what Seattle would need, you know, just in general on the offensive line, Cody Ford would be, I think, a safer pick because he could probably do, you know, play at guard or play at tackle. And there's not that injury concern. But I really am just curious at this point what is sending Taylor down the boards. And if he is in the second round, I mean, I just kind of surprised. And someone's going to get a steal at some point, you know.
Yep.
It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I'm just really interested to see how. I'm actually really excited for tomorrow night with how the first round gone and how the second round goes. For the Lions, especially. I hate to admit that I was one of the people who loved the Tease Tabor pick. But obviously it has been proven wrong with that. So, I think the way this, depending on how it ends, potentially having guys, you know, names like Greedy Williams, DK Metcalf, N'Keal Harry, if, you know, go wide receivers go the rest of the way. Juwan Taylor, depending on his health issue. I mean, you got a lot of big names going into day two.
Mm-hmm.
You do. And I just, you know, with Seattle having the need, I think, at offensive line, but, you know, having the need in the secondary, does Seattle take the first corner at 29? Do they take Greedy Williams and coach him up and then take, you know, Juwan Thornhill or, you know, Nazir Adderley or Chauncey Gardner Johnson from Florida? I mean, Yeah,
Where did Dexter go? Dexter Lawrence.
he went to a team that I don't think we thought was going to pick him.
Was it the Titans?
Yes, I believe so.
Interesting. Okay.
It's about to show up here. I really like that Brian Burns pick to the Panthers. That's a
Yeah, I
good
do
pick.
too.
No, he went to the Giants.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Because I was really shocked that they went that direction with
God, they
Sweat
could
still
have.
on the board. And
They could have really, like the way this draft panned out, they could have really done some things differently.
they could have.
Yeah.
They could have at least gotten Josh Allen at 6 and then taken
It's just
Daniel Jones
it's
at
crazy.
17.
Like I understand how they wanted to kind of blow things up in a way, but I mean, just how they went about it. Trading Snacks Harrison for a 5th-round pick was absolutely highway robbery to me, in my opinion. I mean, I'll take it as a Lions fan.
Yeah.
Just letting Landon Collins walk, waiting to trade Odell after signing him to
a huge extension.
yeah. I mean, Gettleman, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well,
should the Lions have traded with the Giants? Because surely their quarterback would have been there at 8.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, I mean, if depending on how much they were asking for it, I mean, it couldn't have hurt to ask. I mean, you think you're sitting here and you have Josh Allen right now.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting to me because to move up 2 spots, I mean, yeah.
And how Bob Quinn seemed to, I think the Lions were pretty content and happy in getting TJ Hawkinson. I think everything kind of fell how they wanted to. So I don't think they were eager to trade up to get Josh Allen. I think this is kind of what they wanted all along, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just don't know if I 100% agree with that plan, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with it, but just the way, I mean, when you have a guy like Josh Allen, which is a huge need on your team, falling to 6, knowing the Giants, could use the quarterback or whatever they're doing. I mean, I guess you really don't expect the Jaguars to go with Josh Allen, but I definitely think you at least want to pick up the phone and attempt to. And I'm sure we'll hear, within a couple of days, the Lions did attempt to do anything, but yeah, I think TJ Hawkinson was the plan all along, especially with I don't know if you guys seen on Twitter, TJ Hawkinson was wearing King of the Jungle socks today, so maybe he had a little insight on who was going to take him if he made it to 8.
Right.
Yeah. No, it kind of feels like the last year with the Cowboys having a big need at safety and, Derwin James falling and was 2 picks away from the Cowboys. Very easily could have gone up and gotten him, but they stuck to their guns and they took LVE, who, like I said, obviously, John, at the time, I was not too happy about LVE being picked with Derwin James within reach.
Yeah.
But it panned out. And so that's what I was saying as far as Lions fans are concerned. Just a little patience with Hawkinson, and by the end of the season next year, you might be saying like, "Oh yeah, worth the 8th pick." Absolutely. So, but remains to be seen.
I'm not as upset about it as I know one of the Lions reporters posted an article on M Live, and he said in 23 minutes it had 1,900 comments. I'm sure that wasn't a lot of positive comments. I'm not going to freak out about it yet. I don't even think it's a freak outable pick worthy of it. I think people are just thinking about the Eric Ebron thing, and like you said, I mean, it's night and day difference between Hawkinson and Ebron as a prospect goes. I think their second. I think this makes the second round pick huge. I think it's a must hit, and I think if they hit it, I think I accept the Hawkins pick a little more than I do right now, but I'm waiting to give my judgment on this pick.
Yeah. I think if in the second round somebody like Byron Murphy or
oh god, yeah,
drops to them and they pick him, then that a lot of sins are forgiven then.
Yeah, I mean, in the way it's happening, I mean, it looks like you're gonna get one of those corners in, probably not Greedy Williams or Rocky Sin, but Baker, Murphy. I mean, guys like that. I think you're gonna get one of those four the way it looks. I mean, there could be a domino effect here, but I guess I just don't see if there's no corners taken in the first round. I guess I don't see four corners going with the first 8 picks of the second round.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, especially I mean, it just kind of depends on what Seattle does here. I think the Rams could take a corner. They've got Aqib Talib, aging, was on a 1-year deal, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And their secondary was not that good.
I mean, if you are the Lions and somehow all 4 of those corners are gone at 8, do you reach on a guy like a David Long or a Justin Lane, Austin, or do you kind of just go towards best player available at that point?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I would say you could maybe take a chance with Justin Lane. I think he's got a pretty high ceiling in that he's underdeveloped because he hasn't played the position full time for his whole career. You love his size, you love his aggressiveness. He can play both man and zone. I think he's a little bit better in press man than he is in zone, but certainly you like his attributes. He tested well at the combine, so I would say if your those top 4 corners are gone and Detroit is really looking at a corner, I don't think it would really be that much of a reach to take Justin Lane with the 8th pick in the second round. I think you'd feel good.
And I think he's another
selection.
corner who, unlike Greedy, he's unafraid to get down and make a tackle.
No, he'll stick his nose in there and be physical. So yeah, I mean, I really think that could be a really good pick. If it came down to it.
I think David Long would be a bit of a reach, but even as a State fan, I'm really high on David Long as a prospect later in the second round, early third round kind of guy. I think he can turn into something in the NFL.
Yeah. I think the ideal scenario for the Lions would be taking a corner that they like in the second, and then in the third round, you take another edge rusher that you can kind of wean into that position instead of throwing them straight in there, because it doesn't need to be thrown straight in there. Yep. You can look at like a guy like I think Ben Benagu, I think is his last name. Hopefully I didn't butcher that horribly, but from TCU, the edge rusher from Alabama, I think it's Christian Williams, maybe.
Yeah, it sounds like something familiar like that.
From Alabama, LJ Collier, another guy that comes to mind. That would be a good rusher. So I think the Lions, if that's their game plan, I think they could hit pretty well.
Yeah, and I think, I understand but I mean, I for one wasn't a big fan of the Ragnow pick last year, but all in all, I think the Lions had a pretty solid draft last year for what they ended up doing. I think you found your future. I like Tracy Walker a lot. I know Austin. As soon as the Lions made that pick, you were DMing me about his scouting report and that you liked him. Deshaun Hand, I mean, stud. You got in the 4th round. Obviously, Kerryon Johnson was worth what you did to go up and get him. So, as tough as it is as a Lions fan to just completely put your faith in a guy, I think Bob Quinn has earned my trust somewhat in the draft. I'm not always going with what I wanted, but I mean, definitely, I think the Ragnow pick was smart as of now. I mean, obviously, want to see how he is year 2. Decker's kind of been up and down. He definitely needs to have a bounce back year, but I mean, if Juwan Taylor's there, I mean, Rick Wagner's been a disaster. Do you think he can slide over to right tackle, Austin?
Who, Juwan Taylor or?
Yeah.
I mean, Juwan Taylor's natural position, I think, is right tackle.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
He would be. Again, it just depends on what the situation is with him.
That's why I love the draft, man. There's so many crazy storyline scenarios, how things fall.
Well, it's like, there's obviously so many smoke screens that happen, and then you have someone like Taylor who's all you get is, okay, it's something medical, but you don't hear about it till draft night versus all these other rumors that fly around. So You're the Seahawks' first pick, and it is wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
So Seattle stays reaching in the first round.
Man, two back to back. I guess I put too much faith in them and redeeming them. I mean, I guess I have a chance at 30.
So
Wow.
I mean, I had mentioned LJ Collier as a day 2 guy
Not
to
even
Detroit,
a name that I really
in like the
came to
3rd
mind.
round
Right.
is what I was thinking. And so the Giants just came back up for a 3rd pick in the 1st round.
They need to nail this pick.
I don't hate the Dexter Lawrence pick, but
I mean,
I think they could have done something different at 17. But
I guess if you really want to break it down, you essentially traded Snacks for a 5th and Dexter Lawrence.
So just thinking back to this Seahawks pick, you traded Frank Clark, who is certainly very close to, if not an elite pass rusher. You have needs in the secondary. You have day 2 picks that you can get LJ Collier probably, and then you go.
So what do we think the Giants are doing here, by the way, before he announces it?
Well, oh man, their pick's already in,
fast.
So they must have had their guy, Cody Ford,
DeAndre
Taylor?
Baker.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, DeAndre Baker. So the first corner off the board is DeAndre Baker.
I like it. Before we get into this, I guess the question I wanted to ask is, when you brought up Frank Clark, is that almost the contract he ended up getting kind of makes the Trey Flowers contract for the Lions look not so bad?
Yeah.
It does, and also Frank Clark got paid a little bit more than DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys. So, certainly Cowboys fans.
Given the Lions doing what they did when the Rams traded the pick to the Falcons. Okay.
Falcons.
Oh, the Falcons moved up, so this might be another corner.
Yeah, there might maybe a sense that
here comes
the top corners,
could
be going.
Greedy.
I don't know how much teams like him. And he's so talented, but he did not do himself any favors this year. I think I'm trying to think of the kind of scheme that the Falcons run. Any zone heavy team, Byron Murphy absolutely has to be your guy because he is the best zone corner in this draft. He might be, if he was 6'2", 6'3", Byron Murphy probably would have been gone a long time ago, but he's 5'11", so he didn't show that blazing speed that Denzel Ward did with the Browns. But I really, again, think if there's a zone heavy, I'm trying to think, does Atlanta run a whole big scheme for DeAndre Baker?
Yeah, it's just like wide.
Maybe he's just a wide dude, John. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think DeAndre Baker's that wide of a guy.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know. I mean, this kind of makes me nervous though, because if they go corner here, that leaves 2 of the 4 guys we mentioned for the Lions in the 2nd round, and the reach. When I wasn't necessarily reaching for Lane becomes a real possibility, but I just honestly I don't know what else you do besides corner in the 2nd round. I think Lane's definitely there at 8.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I mean I'm biased towards Lane as a State fan. I wanted the Lions to take Darqueze Dennard, and I'm kind of glad they didn't a few years ago. But I guess depending on the receivers that are there too, if an N'Keal Harry's there, Metcalf, I mean it's going to be really interesting day 2.
See, I just don't know with the Lions if you need an outside receiver.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, you got 2 of them.
I would say you want to wait till
or maybe
3rd,
a guy like
4th, 5th round pick. You're looking at like an Andy Isabella.
Mm-hmm. What about
I think the only guy that you pick at
Paris
8,
Campbell?
I would say Deebo Samuel.
Oh, okay, all right.
He's probably one of the better slot guys, if not the best slot receiver prospect in the draft. Uber talented guy.
I mean, personally, I think they got to be second and third round. But I mean, I'm just trying to think of all possibilities here.
I would say, depending on who's left on corner, Debo Samuel would be my guess in the second round. Maybe a safety, depending on what this is.
I think the Lions are happy at safety with
Okay, so there's some. Wow, Caleb McGarry over Cody Ford and Jawan Taylor.
Wow.
Huh.
So they trade up to get another lineman.
I don't. I mean, okay, I get the need for the offensive line for sure. And apparently, I don't know what's going on with Juwan Taylor. What's
Ford,
going on
though,
with him medically? But yeah, Ford is what I was going to say. I mean, if you're going offensive line, Ford's the guy.
Yeah, McGarry is a feel good story for sure. But certainly some issues in regards to strength. Playing in the Pac-12, having a little trouble dealing with a bit of a bull rush. Being able to handle that one-on-one block. Good player, but certainly, apparently Juwan Taylor is going to fall out of the first round.
Here goes Drew Lock.
Man, you're sitting at 32 as the Patriots.
Dude, there's so much talent.
There's so much talent on the board right now for you, and you have 12 picks.
I kind of want to get Matthew on here, Austin, just in case I do take Drew Lock.
No,
that's not going to happen, but I would just love another reaction video from last year. We had a Patriots fan on our show last year, Mark, and then when they took Sony Michel, he had one of the most epic meltdowns I've ever seen. And I think all of us besides him loved the Sony Michel pick for the Patriots, but it was just
he was good for them.
Yeah, it really worked out for them a lot. So
I still love our reaction to the Davenport pick, Austin, for the Saints when they traded up.
That I couldn't believe it. I thought they were going Lamar Jackson.
We all thought Lamar Jackson. We were all like, yeah, there's and then all of a sudden they said Marcus Davenport. We're like, wow.
The guy gave up a first-round pick this year to trade up into the middle of the first round and got a developmental defensive end. So
how was he last year?
Yeah, he was okay. He was a little hurt, but I mean, he was not going to be that year one plug and play guy. He was going to be that, the guy that you got to work with a little bit and
hope for the best.
I think he's got a pretty high ceiling, and he showed flashes this year, but not worth what the Saints gave up for him.
So
definitely not.
I guess with all the talent available, I mean, you got receiver an option here, corner.
I think I feel, and obviously New England surprised me a lot before. They're one of the more unpredictable teams, but I think this is a place where Paris Campbell would go. He seems to fit New England's offense. If they want to go defensive side, I mean, maybe somebody like Jermaine Pratt, the linebacker. He might be an option here. Corner is a possibility, but hey, they don't. New England doesn't typically go super high with corner picks. But I don't know. Like I'm kind of feeling Paris Campbell here. I don't know where else they really go.
I really like the Paris Campbell prediction. I think that's such a Patriots pick, and I would just absolutely despise seeing Tom Brady get somebody with that much speed and.
Yeah, it wouldn't really be fair. Of course, somehow.
Imagine him just running a simple slant in the slot, and then Tom Brady just finding him up the middle like multiple times a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Boy, I think the Patriots are in a really good spot here. They've got so many late round picks that they can be aggressive with all this talent that's falling.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Yeah, they're definitely a candidate to move farther, ahead in the second round. Maybe get another third round pick, something like that. I definitely think they're gonna, like you said, with so many picks, they're not gonna be able to sign them all. So I definitely think they're gonna be active day 2, day 3.
and they're showing a thing with Tom Brady being 42 in August. Josh, what happens with Josh Rosen?
Yeah.
Obviously, no, Cardinals are not getting a first round pick this year for him.
Yeah,
Do they
what
get
do
a
you
first
think
round pick next year for him? I don't know.
Even that, I mean, that's a lot to invest in a guy where you can go with the Cardinals. I mean, they don't have to get rid of him, obviously, but I mean, they did themselves no favors by holding on to him
Mm-hmm.
Until obviously they picked Kyler Murray.
Right.
I guess I don't really see a team giving up a future first next year for a quarterback where I feel like if they waited a decent amount of time, they could probably get him pretty cheap.
Yeah. If the Cardinals want to trade Rosen in this draft, maybe they get a third.
Yeah.
Like I could see something like that.
And
I mean,
that's where
what team is even really desperate enough for Rosen right now? I mean, Giants clearly got their future in Daniel Jones.
I would say
the Redskins got Haskins. I mean,
Miami, Cincinnati, and that the Patriots with all these middle to late round picks, they could kind of maybe trade up and grab some picks, and then do they package that and send it to Arizona? So this year Arizona gets some more, kind of mid round picks where the talent's falling, and they get rid of the quarterback that they don't necessarily need.
Why do I still really like Will Grier?
Because he's a good quarterback. I mean,
I'm kind of curious to see where he goes.
Oh, so
okay, I'm not surprised by this. I think it's so you have Metcalf, Paris Campbell, guys like that falling in the second round. Greedy's still around. Rocket Sin's still around. Murphy's still around. I mean, there is. As a Lions fan, I think you have a lot to be excited for going into the second round. Austin, what pick do you guys have?
58. So so we're kind of towards the back end, and
I feel like you guys could still get like a good safety though.
It depends. Well, I think there's certainly some.
Oh god, I'm probably gonna see a Michigan State highlight on Justin Lane here that I'm not gonna be thrilled about. He absolutely murdered Justin Lane on a play for a touchdown.
So N'Keal Harry, last pick in round 1 to the Patriots. We were right; they went wide receiver, just not the one we thought or the one I thought that they might.
He's
they
so
might go
physical and so good.
I know, it's it's definitely it's another Patriot-like pick, and I think they get a really good player.
Yes.
Super Bowl champs get another really good player.
Yep.
But so
didn't show it, thank God.
Projecting into round 2, what do you think? Where do you think the Lions are going to go?
I think it's setting up good for. I think. God, I'd almost be upset if they don't go cornerback. I think. If you're lucky enough, I think Murphy is probably what you want to see. I think Patricia likes running a lot of zone. And as Austin said, he's probably your best zone corner. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Greedy if he's still there. I mean, I like all 3 of the corners that are not all 3 of them are going to be available, but either of the 3 that we get if we take a corner, I'd be happy with.
Mm-hmm.
I think personally for me, I've been on the Greedy train for a while. I think I'd be really excited about getting Greedy and putting him next to Slay. But I think the second round is really, really shaping well for the Lions.
Yeah, I will say that the Lions are one of the teams that I think could sort of afford to take Greedy. Because they have some decent run stopping options in their front seven. They don't need him to be as physical as some other teams might necessarily need him to be. And if you have Slay and you have Greedy, next to each other with Coleman in the slot, suddenly that becomes a really good secondary.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if Tracy Walker pans out like all of us Detroiters think he will, and step in for Glover Quinn as more of a taller athletic safety next to Quandre Diggs, who might be my favorite.
Here
Lion.
comes the Justin Lane highlight.
No, I didn't. What channel are you watching?
ESPN.
Oh, see, I haven't seen it.
Oh, see, that wasn't like super impressive, but yeah, it was a nice catch over him.
But God, what was I saying?
There's secondary.
So Quandre Diggs might be one of my favorite Lions. He's a lot of fun to watch. Really physical for an undersized guy. So I think you're fine at safety. And then if Greedy pans out, I mean, you're looking at Greedy Williams, Darius Slade, Justin Coleman. Like you said, Mark, you have your secondary, I think, for the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you're happy with the D line of Trey Flowers, Snacks, Deshaun Hand, Ashawn Robinson coming in as a depth guy. Linebacker obviously still the weak spot. You kind of wanted to get a guy that you could put next to Jared in the middle, but I don't know if there is that guy in the second round, really, unless I'm not thinking of somebody.
No, the linebacker class is it's pretty thin. So
yeah. So I think Lions probably go another year of not having another linebacker, which is fine. Jared made strides, I thought, last year. Still obviously mediocre. Not even mediocre. That's giving way too much credit in pass coverage. But and like I said earlier, I think Kennard and Okwara are going to be guys who are fine rushing the passer. So I think getting Greedy is probably my dream scenario to shore up that defense a little bit. And then, like Austin said, get another edge rusher guy to kind of develop there in the third round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do. I think they'll probably go corner, whether Greedy falls or whether it's Byron Murphy. It's going to depend on who's there basically.
Or get real spicy and take Will Grier in the third round if he's still there, and just go all in on him.
But yeah, like I like the edge rusher approach in round 3 as well. And I think Quinn is probably going to go linebacker 4 or 5, and just basically just take a flyer on one of them and hope that he hits.
And I do. I mean, as I joke about Will Grier, I do think you see the Lions take a QB round 5, round 6, maybe depending if a guy like Ryan Finley is still there.
Yep.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the other quarterbacks, but I think you definitely. I mean, unless you were confident in Connor Cook as our guy as a backup. Was I wrong on Connor Cook going into the NFL? Obviously with MSU bias, but he's not too confident with him as our number 2 quarterback.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But there's a lot of interesting. There's a lot of interesting scenarios going forward. A lot of talent still left. And how far does Juwan Taylor fall?
I think that's the storyline of day 2.
Yep. Because I would assume he goes somewhere in the second round, but I don't know. Like there are a lot of teams out there that still have offensive line needs, so I would assume he goes somewhere in the second round. But he could easily fall past the Lions.
Yeah.
That is our coverage. I am going to jump off here at this point. You guys want to stay on? You want to get off? What do you want to do?
I think I am tapping out.
Yep.
The draft is tons of fun.
Yep.
To cover, but It sure is. The first round sure is pretty long.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you
Yes.
for joining us, everybody. Austin, John, thank you
Yep.
for being here. It was definitely a pleasure to do this with you guys, and I hope we can do this next year.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone, and we will see you later.